Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside. I usually say somewhere outside of Canada, somewhere outside of Rome, somewhere outside of Washington, D.C., somewhere outside of the Final Four. Just whatever's going on, we're somewhere outside of there, which really never tells you anything. People say, how old are you? I go, I'm old enough to be your cousin. You go, dude, I got cousins that are like 5 and 55. I go, ha. I'm probably somewhere in between 5 and 55. But now I'm saying somewhere outside, because it's that time of year. But somebody that I know, I want to share this story and ask, are you hearing similar stories? Out for a hike, got bit by something, and now in the hospital with a respiratory situation. I'm not saying this is COVID 2.0. I'm not saying that the stories of the bioengineered ticks and the boxes of ticks being found and these stories and these rumors and the fact that I've had more ticks noticed in the last year than I have in my entire lifetime since, go back many decades. Somewhere outside. I've always been outside. I've always been outside a lot. But now it's like you got to really check your waistband. You have to really check your socks, your ankles, your neck, your hair, your just anything. You got to do a full inspection. Super Bear up in Vermont. See, now I can see a V on Super Bear's chest. My mind's eye can see the V. He's had so many ticks recently. Yeah. I almost called it Goose Island. It's not Jekyll Island. That's the Federal Reserve. Ticks. Not Elm Island. Not Oak Island. Was it just Lime? Lime Island? Is that what it was from? Like Leanne hasn't seen a tick in years. All right, keep your eyes peeled. But yeah, I've been outside just doing a lot of projects around the house, things that I've known were there for years, things I knew I needed to address and get to, and I just haven't done it until this year. There's some catching up, there's some painting, there's some concrete, there's some this, there's some that, there's a lot of hedges and edges and shrubbery and taking down trees and clearing power lines, and it's a lot, man. I love it, but it's a lot. What's not a lot is our super chat total for the month of April. So let me put this up at the bottom of the screen for you. If you like the program, we are crowdfunded. So as I am your humble bartender, and we're going to talk about all the stories on the screens behind me, you belly up to the bar, you have a good time, and if you're enjoying yourself, consider tipping your bartender. Rumble rants and super chats are great ways to do so. You can do monthly subscriptions on Rumble and on YouTube and on Patreon, as well as Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo, all listed and scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We're 20-something days in, 21 days in, and we got some ground to make up for this month. So, but yeah, I've definitely been outside. I guess there's a way you can tie it back in. I know some segue brought me into that line of thought, but I could work its way back. Because, there's tools that you need. With the funding comes the tools that you need. As a podcaster, I have lights, I have devices, I have internet, I have electricity, I have the space. Everything is an expense. But you get the tools that you need, and then you can build a house. So yeah, your support definitely helps us build a house, maintain a house, all of the things that you can imagine. Super appreciated. Let me tell you this also. We have a, let's see. Yeah, I just recently did a complete rebuild on my 4-wheeler room. You have a 4-wheeler room? Super Bear, aren't you like 17? How do you have a 4-wheeler room and you're doing complete rebuilds? You're talking like you have the knowledge and wealth of a 45-year-old. You're living in Vermont. You have space for a 4-wheeler room. Many people don't even have a 4-bedroomed house. But I thought you're in high school, aren't you, dude? Congrats to you. However, you got it panned out. Whether that's a family member or a friend, or that's yours, or I don't know, dude, but you. All right, I just want to finish your comment. Sorry, I just have so many thoughts because I have one neighbor that's putting in a garage from scratch, and it's been a whole process, and they had to bring down a tree, and then we're taking the ground up mulch. I had to ask and make sure, is it all right if I grab some of this and we use it for landscaping and some of this other common area. And so I'm in the middle of so many different projects, taking trees down, and the hedges, the edgers, call them the hedgers or the edgers. And then it's trying to get up on top. I think I need an extendable arm because these hedges go real high up. So I don't like being up on a ladder and you're kind of leaning and it's like it's top heavy and it puts strain on this part of your shoulder, your upper pec, your neck. You're kind of here and you're reaching over and you don't want to fall from a ladder. So I need to get, I got to see if Ryobi has I have a pole saw, which is fine for what it does, but it's limited. I have edgers, which are fine, but I want a way to get like a long extendable pole with those hedgers on them so that I can get all the way up there, kind of doing it like a pivot like this. I can just kind of do a torque. But yeah. Everything that you do requires infrastructure. It requires investment. It requires tools. Yeah, we've been acquiring those tools over the years. It's the storage, it's the hard drives, it's the computer systems, it's the devices, and mainly it's the knowledge base, you know? And that's why how Super Bear, you have the knowledge base to do a complete rebuild. Now, when you say complete rebuild, what do you mean a complete rebuild? Oh, you have an ATV room, but you took apart your 4-wheeler. Okay. Gotcha. Lake Leon, a ladder. I used to build and climb communication towers, 1,200 feet tall. Yeah. Do they have something attached to the side of the stairs, like a carabiner? Because I went spelunking for several hours under the earth. It's wild. Some of it is very organized, and some of it feels kind of disorganized. And it's like, okay, if you have a guide there, okay, but what if you didn't? So yeah, just climbing 1,200-foot communication towers. Do you have like a carabiner that you latch in and then you just climb up and it slides with you, or you just go, I don't need to use it? You're supposed to do every 4 steps, but nobody does. Okay, back to Super Bear. Complete rebuild on my 4-wheeler. Take all the plastic off outside and put the new parts back on. Yeah, you got to do 3 things to get to the one thing that you actually need to do. That's the part that. But while you were doing the break apart and put back together, you had so many ticks. Yeah, look, I'm about this. I want to find out, how do we eradicate the ticks? What do we need to do? What do we need to be looking for? I think there's definitely some sort of bioweapon attack. I don't bring you all the stories that I find. I don't bring you all the stories that I share on a daily basis. It's tricky, you know. Blake Wally and I did several episodes, several years probably, of the Agree to Disagree show. And it's always tricky, like, you know, when Blake was producing and co-hosting those shows, you know, it was always tricky, like, how many stories do we want a headline for at the bottom of the screen? I realize I still didn't do the intro to my show. I'll get back to outside and I'll redo the intro to my show once we finish the monologue here. We got a lot of thoughts going on this morning, aren't we? How about start with the cheers? Let's do an honorary simultaneous sip in remembrance of Scott Adams. I thought today, doggone it, I miss his hour-long shows. Because what I was starting to say with Blake is that we would do 5 topics, 6, 7 topics, and we'd put them out in advance and try to get the show wrapped in 60 to 90 minutes. But then I had stories I wanted to share, and it's like the show would go too long for his liking. For me, I'm like, all right, there's just so much to talk about. To put a button on that point that I was making. But look, let's do a simultaneous sip because I was missing my Coffee with Scott Adams show today. I was like, I got some downtime. I want to pop on a show and get like an hour of information. Where do I go? Where do I go? And then I had the thought, be the change you want to see in the world. Why don't you work to become the hour-long show? That's just like a little more brass tacks, a little bit less entertainment, a little bit less fun hangout, a little bit more bang, 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 done. But there's a time and a place for both. So anyway, I had about an hour and I'm like, I wanted to listen to Scott. I want to hear more about more news stories. Where's a good place to get an hour of news? Because we pretty much do a 2-hour show, but some days we do an hour and I like that. Like sometimes I got a million things going on. I gotta get in, I gotta get out. So today, missing Scott Adams, I ask you to join me in a simultaneous sip. And all you need to do to participate in the simultaneous sip is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure, the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better. It's called the simultaneous sip. And it happens now. Go! By the way, if you want a mug, shoot a $40 Venmo tip. It'll include $10 shipping and handling. And get this fundraiser mug for the New American Media out to your home. You want to get some other merch? We have coasters, $30 for a set. They're Ohio. They're wooden made. There's 4 per set. 30 for 1 or 2 for 50. And if you want the pin is 25, the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Today's scheduled The Unhappy Hour Sports Show that we had set for 3 p.m. has a bit of a question mark. Scheduling. That's where we leave it. And we'll let you know. Might need to do the show at a different time. Might do it today at 3. So keep your eyes peeled. Yeah, so that's another reason why I'm trying to get in and get out of today's show. You're trying to get in and get out of today's show fast, and you're 13 minutes into your show and you haven't even done your fucking intro. Come on, dude. No. In the world of 45-minute intros, this is a concise one. Straight and to the point. And I've already done all the sales pitches. Let you know that I stand on the street corner singing guitar songs. And if you like what you're hearing, I ask that you throw some change into the guitar case. It's interesting singing for your supper. So let me tell you this. This is something else I wanted to mention. Go to Whatnot if you have not yet. It's a live auction site. If you know me, you know that I've been doing reselling for a long time. Mercari, Depop, eBay, Marketplace, all sorts of places you can list things and sell things, ship things, order things. It's a major component of what I do for revenue, for income. The Whatnot app is something new for me. And I have a show scheduled for 7 p.m. today. And it's going to be a hangout. It's not going to be... Ooh, gotta sneeze. We're not going to be doing current events in politicking in that chat. That chat's to hang out, crack some jokes, got to tell some jokes. And it's a place where you put some stuff on screen, you go, all right, I'm selling this for $20, selling this for $5, selling this for $10. Selling this for $50, selling this for $100. Go. And people bid. They just bid and bid the price up. So yeah, if you have not signed up for it, something to consider. It is a place where you can get some pretty good stuff at pretty good deals. And there's something really interesting about doing box breaks with sports cards that I will be doing, probably for the unhappy hour. There will be a little bit of selling crossover, I'm sure. But yeah, while it's not going to be a political place to come in and dump on politicians and start going in on that like we do here, it will be a place to hang out, and it'll be a place to buy cool stuff. I mean, every category of thing. And it's sort of like, what are you into? Let me see if I got a box over here with some. Oh, I got some stuff right there. Let me tell you what I got. $5, $10, $15, $20. And then it all just ships out. It's all just simultaneous, instantaneous. So yeah, I've sort of fiddled around with 2 shows, and I have some ideas of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do another show today at 7:00. Picking winners resale. You occasionally notice what we're doing in the chat here. Let me pull this up, because Picking Winners Resale jumps in on YouTube from time to time. So that's where I'll be at 7:00 today. Our 3 p.m. show with Strictly Football is a question mark, maybe. Scheduling question mark. We'll let you know. If we can go live, we'll probably go live. But if we're already this late into the day and we are already missing deadlines, we might just miss it. We'll see. So anyway, let's get today's show started. Yeah, Dino, what are you yakking about now? I was saying I'm going to be live on Whatnot today, doing a live streaming hangout at 7:00. So Picking Winners Resale. Swing over, say hi. But howdy, thanks for being here. Lake Leon, I said, do you guys have that? Have not, want not, would not, could not, should not, but a tree does have a knot. That is true. And the winds can blow a knot. There's that too. Okay. Now back to our intro. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion Spiral Arm of the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere outside. My name's Brian Engelman. Today is Tuesday, 21st of April, 2026. And this right here, the thing that you are watching is of course, called, well, what's it called? It's called the TNAM Daily Show, larger. The TNAM Daily Show. Oh, what does TNAM stand for? Right there. Let's make it bigger. The new American media, because the old American media has failed you. Shout out to John and the TNAM meme team. I need an image set to that size so we can do something with the TNAM trash pandas. Because we have TNAM Daily Show and then something with the TNAM trash pandas, the new American media. Because I want to be able to jump over like I do to my Strictly Football shows and have something that says the TNAM trash pandas. So I need it like left to right orientation. Because when I say, what's TNAM stand for? Well, we're the trash pandas. Just to further complicate and confuse things. But it's kind of funny in my brain. And if I'm going to think it, I might as well say it. But we appreciate you being here on today's program. We're going to talk about Virginia, vote no. Virginia, oh no. Abigail Spanberger, the CIA asset, and Barack Hussein Obama are nightmares to society, to humanity, to governments. Look at what they have done to try to destroy Virginia in just 2 months. Oh, my Lord. Reject, reject, reject. Vote no. I think I'm saying that right, because it's the Democrat plan to redistrict and take a 55-45 half and half state of Virginia and make it 11-1, I think. Almost completely removing the Republican voices through a heavily gerrymandered district, because the Democrats will not stop to burn everything down and rule over the ashes. That's why we do what we do here, because politically we don't like what they are up to. Does that mean that we love everything that President Trump is doing? No. There's probably been a series of tweets you could point to, several in the past year, and go, ugh. Policy decisions, things that he's done. Yep. You could even call him the puppet of Putin. You could call him the puppet of Bibi. You could call him the puppet of anybody you want, as long as it's 2 syllables. Putin, Bibi, Putin, Bibi, puppet, 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 puppet. Cool attack line, bro. Some of it might be true. The Putin shit wasn't. The grand conspiracy to take President Trump out by the CIA and Obama, that was true. And so we find ourselves on the verge of losing a country that used to stand for something cool. How could a country that ever did something bad ever be? Yeah. Yeah. How could any of it be good? Well, there's principles, there's ideals, there's guiding lights, there's things being directionally true while being maybe not precisely true, directionally true. And you don't have to love 100% of everything Trump has done or will do. His comments, his tweets, his actions. Cool. But do you oppose what the globalists who infiltrated the CIA, the Barack Hussein Obamas, the Joe Bidens, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the disgraced Eric Swalwells, and soon to be, hopefully, all these other people will be disgraced as well. Rumors are that Kash Patel's stepping down, but why would he step down? Maybe he will. Don't know. Pam Bondi did. What do we know about Boasberg? What do we know about all these corrupt judges? Clearly corrupt judges. What do we know about I'm drawing a blank on his, I want to say Bovino. What does Bovino know? I have a story in the stack about Bovino and what he knows about how many illegal aliens are in this country. 100 million. Some people would laugh when I'd say 40 million illegal alien invaders have been deposited into this country like a Trojan horse. Sleeper cells. So why is this stuff important? It's important because directionally, the deep state Democrats are everything I oppose. Would you ever? No, not getting into it. There's no need to explain why what the Democrats are about is bad for you. It's bad for this country. It's bad for cohesion. It's bad for success. It's bad for safety. It's bad for energy. It's bad for fiscal policy. It's bad for everything. And the worst of the worst states in the past 2 months by far has been CIA asset Abigail Spanberger, who somehow conquered Virginia. Barely. Are we certain that was a legit selection? And now they're trying to take away everybody else's voices. By the way, every million illegal aliens in a big blue Democrat city that somehow, some reason, ends up getting counted on the census for congressional representation as part of citizen population, that further tilts the scales into the out of control zone. And that's all the Democrats have been about for decades. You don't have to be in favor of every fucking thing Donald Trump has ever done and ever will do. You don't have to like anybody on the Republican lineup. Although you do. And there's some that you used to like, but now they seem to be against MAGA, but MAGA is not what MAGA said it was going to be. But actually, MAGA has been pretty consistent if you go back. It's everybody's got an opinion and everybody's getting a little salty. Everybody's a little on edge right now. You can at least rally together and destroy the Democrat Party forever, politically. Splinter them into 1,000 pieces and scatter their ashes to the winds. I don't know how we survive another way. So it's important. And it's important that we remind people, get your ass out and vote. You have to vote if you're against the insanity of what Virginia's trying to do. So that's the number one topic, but we have 1,000 stories to share. So let's actually launch the TNAM Daily Show right now.
guide to the truth. thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. Yes, maybe in the history of doing this show, this is the first time that I've actually started it off camera. I'm always so good at those quick breaks. That's the other thing you don't realize. Those intros, sometimes they're the breaks that are needed to go do the things. To grab the coffee, to use the facility, to answer the door, to feed the cat, to do all the things. But you know what? Doggone it. I'm usually pretty good at it. And I almost never reveal the tricks of my trade. That time you caught me. Remember when we had those like 3 weeks where I wouldn't unmute the show to start the show? Then we had the constant battles of, I got to remember to monetize it on YouTube. Can you guys go back and hit refresh? But all in all, I mean, for juggling chainsaws, bowling pins, and apples, don't forget to take a bite of the apple. I think I do a pretty darn good job being the producer. What I could use is a booker, actually. You know, I've had many great guests over the years. It's just booking those guests takes a little bit of time. And I haven't been doing a lot of that these days. Dina says, if you vote Dem, you hate everything. Yeah, it's what even is a Democrat? We know what they're not. Do they even know what they are? So, yeah. There's that as a question. Yeah, someone was saying that they're the party of bad ideas. And it used to be that the Republicans were the party of no ideas, and the Democrats are the party of bad ideas. But now it's like the Democrats don't even have ideas. But they do. They do. You saw it. You saw 4 years of unbridled, all of it. All of it with Joe Biden. You saw it. I don't want any of that stuff anymore. I don't understand who would vote for all the bad stuff. Are they suicidal or what? Exactly. Sprinkling smart dust. Or is that dumb dust? Yes, producer, performer, and writer. Welcome back to my show. What's your question? What's my NHL info of yours coming on today? Okay. Are you talking about my NFL show? Well, I will keep you posted when I get an update. My update is I need you to follow the New American Media on Instagram, please. The more we use Instagram, the more they will not let us clear the 1,000 follower barrier. So if you could, please consider liking it. Let me pull it up here. AJ has a story here about the World Cup.
The United States is going to bar World Cup attendees tied to anti-Semitism abroad. The U.S. will ban individuals accused of promoting anti-Semitism from
if you're accused of something.
Attending the 2026 FIFA World Cup, says the U.S. anti-Semitism envoy, Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan. Coming to this country is a privilege, not a right. Last year, the DHS under Trump began screening social media activity of non-citizens in America, and it seems like their entire logic is citizens of America have the First Amendment, but people coming to our country as tourists, students, or workers do not have the First Amendment. But not
do we want to be bringing in unlimited numbers of Hamas sympathizers? Is that helping America? That's a fair question. The other fair question is brought up there, like, being accused of something, and something so broad as that term that has just been so overused on everything, it's lost 100% of meaning. Everything's racist, everything's sexist, everything's this and that, everything's phobic, everything's whatever, anti-Semitic, blah. Got it. Everything is cool. Okay. So that's like a magic cloak of invincibility. Invincibility. That is what I said. Not invisibility. But it's a magic cloak that goes over top of opinions. And that means that if I say something to you, then you're not allowed to say anything back, because then I would be a big meanie. And you would say that I'm only talking with my backward opinion, because how does this work? I'm just trying to kind of hash it out here. Because that is how it works. Toss a name at somebody. You got to prove your innocence. Like, that's not how this works. What are you talking about? Not how this works at all. But anyway, the part of being accused and then not allowed in is fine. But by fine, I mean, you don't want that. Just somebody points a finger and says, oh, they've been accused of being something. What does that even mean? You're anti-Semitic. What? You've had critiques and criticisms and complaints? Oh, no, those are special people. You can never critique or criticize. No, there's no such thing as a special person. Nobody's deity, nobody's heritage, nobody's geography, nobody's religion, none of it. Nobody's genitalia, nobody's skin color, none of it. Everybody can be criticized and critiqued. So that word isn't really even a word. But if you're rallying in the street, yelling for Hamas to go be butchering more people, okay. I mean, that was the question of last year at the graduation ceremonies, was it not?
Not just not having the First Amendment, specifically around the topic of anti-Semitism. What you think anti-Semitism means doesn't matter. What matters is the official government definition of anti-Semitism that they'll be using to police incoming attendees to the World Cup. These are examples of anti-Semitism by the State Department, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about such as the power of as a collective, such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world conspiracy or of controlling media, economy, government, or other.
You know, that sounds like the Anti-Defamation League thing that was put in 1913. Some say to make sure that nobody could ever criticize the banking elites that seized control of the country in Jekyll Island. You had Woodrow Wilson, the Anti-Defamation League. You had the Federal Reserve was created, the income tax. And then just like this piece says, you can't make mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations. You can never accuse anyone or make any allegation of anything. Because do they blur out the Jews on this? Is that what I'm reading? About Jews as such, or the power of Jews. So you can't talk about Jews having power. Black power is a key component of, well, Black liberation theology. It's about a lot of things. You hear power, but this complaint from state.gov is that, does that mean that the state is saying that Jews don't have power? I find that to be a slightly confusing phrase. As such, or the power of Jews as a collective. So they're saying that when people band together, they don't have collective power, because that's every union story. On earth, the union is power in numbers, and when you come together collectively, you have more power. But I guess state.gov is trying to make the claim that Jews don't have the capability of collectively having power when they band together. As similarly to the way that Adam Carolla asked Gavin Newsom, why can't blacks and Hispanics have bank accounts? What's wrong with them? what is state.gov saying here? State.gov seems to be making it seem like Jews are incapable of doing all the things that we clearly know they do, because it's what humans do. There is power in every group of people as collectives, such as, especially but not exclusively. Okay. Oh, okay. So then they say there's a myth about a world Jewish conspiracy. Aren't there global conspiracies about everything? But they're the only group that doesn't have myths about them. Myths that are, I don't even know what we're talking about, but this could be some true and some false. Yeah, it's just weird, really weird reading state.gov saying that Jews don't have collective power, whereas every group on earth has collective power. But state.gov says, oh, it's mendacious, dehumanizing, and demonizing to say that a group has power when they're together collectively. So there's a myth about a Jewish conspiracy, or that Jews control media or economy or government or other societal institutions. Every special interest group controls components of media, economy, government, and other societal institutions. But state.gov is trying to tell you the Jews do not have the capability, and they never have and never will control any aspect of media or economy or government or any other societal institutions. That's flat out false. So if what I'm reading here from state.gov that Anomaly shared is accurate, this is one of the most bizarre, confusing things I've ever tried to make sense of. It's patently false, as I've laid out for all those reasons.
Societal institutions accusing citizens of being more loyal to Israel or the alleged priorities of...
Okay, and that you can't point out that Jewish citizens could be more loyal to Israel than to the United States. But we can point out that Ilhan Omar is clearly more loyal to Somalia than Minneapolis, Minnesota, and the United States of America. No, we can absolutely do that. If there was a reason to say Elon Musk that we believe he seems to care more about the plight of South Africa than he does for Texas, we can say that. What is so fragile and special going on at state.gov where they're going to claim that the thing everybody does to one degree or another, it just so magically cannot apply to Jews
worldwide than to the interests of their own nations? Multiple of the examples include Israel, so now the foreign nation of Israel has special protections under this definition, and one of them even talks about symbols and images associated with classic anti-Semitism, claims of killing Jesus or blood libel to characterize Israel or Israelis. So now biblical discussion could possibly be considered anti-Semitism.
Yeah, you've heard this over and over. Biblical conversation can be considered anti-Semitism now. Christ is king. The Jews and Romans killed Jesus. You're just not supposed to say reality anymore. You just change things. And it's how often just set to protect one particular group of people? Or, my favorite, where everybody but the whites are protected, or everybody but the guys are protected, or everybody but the MAGA members are protected, or everybody but the Christians are protected, or everybody but the straight people are protected, or everybody, that's the type of micro aggression in politicking that we've had for decades. The Obamas, the Jesse Jacksons, the Bidens. You think back, though, you click back past 9/11 into Clinton and you go, I don't remember it this way. There was Rodney King. There was Rodney King and there were things, but it wasn't being crammed down your throat and divided this way before. Yeah, if the world is going to try to tell you can't speak reality, well, we got a big problem.
This image came out of Lebanon recently, and the IDF, Netanyahu, and the foreign minister of affairs apologized for it. But in around the world,
I'm not familiar with the image, but it was a crucified Christ. I don't know what else is happening there.
Anti-Semitism can be a crime that could put you in prison or get you a fine. Even Ukraine recently, who happens to have a president that this word anti-Semitism essentially protects from ethnic accusations, signed or passed a bill into law where anti-Semitism is a crime. Let me know what you...
It's a crime? How? Is it a crime to feel the same way about whites or Christians or straight people or MAGA members or Republicans or women or Muslims? Or what are we talking about? Like one group of people gets all the special protections and nobody else does? That doesn't make any sense.
What you guys think in the comment section, but I'm going to say this and I'm going to be super clear. When it comes to foreign policy around the war in Iran or Israel or Ukraine, Americans are allowed to agree and disagree. I don't care if you have a different foreign policy than me.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
That's okay. But I'm tired of being gaslit and called an anti-Semite when I point stuff like this out, because defining hate speech for one race, one religion, and one foreign country in the United States of
It's nutty.
America is un-American, and in my opinion,
It's illegal. It's anti-constitutional, unconstitutional.
and unconstitutional. But rights don't seem to be something that Trump cares about. Recently, he admitted when saying he wanted to sign FISA, "I am willing to risk the giving up of my rights and privileges as a citizen for our great military and country."
That's a tough phrase to defend. My understanding is that there was some sort of clean FISA that would have some checks and balances against what they did in the grand conspiracy with Obama, Comey, Clapper, Brennan to stage the coup to overthrow President Trump's first term. My understanding of FISA is that there was some clean FISA that was going to be enacted for the purpose of putting back the checks and balances. Because the problem with FISA was that you were bearing false witness against innocent people. You were framing people. You were abusing the FISA system. The system was not supposed to be doing what it did, but since it was Trump, they made exceptions. So if that's not true, I don't know what else to say to you.
Giving up our rights is not American, and it's certainly not conservative or Republican. So what is Trump doing, and why is his government so obsessed with policing hate speech for one race, one religion, and one country? Pretty embarrassing they're doing this for World Cup attendees. Let me know what you think in the comment section.
But yeah, if you're a foreign student and you're here to wave your Hamas flag and screech and scream in people's ears about genociding them from the river to the sea, I don't understand why that's something you would just bring people in. Hey, come on in, and hey, can you promise you're going to throw bricks through windows and hurl projectiles and become a part of the armed resistance to overthrow our country from the inside out? But there's a lot to take away there. Follow Anomaly for more. All right, let's check in on Virginia. What is the deal? What is happening here with the General Assembly with Democrats bypassing the independent redistricting commission that the voters approved to ram through a partisan map that could flip Virginia's congressional delegation dramatically in their favor?
Held a constitutional referendum, amended our Constitution to have nonpartisan independent redistricting. 2/3 of Virginians said we want politics out, politicians out. And now we have Abigail Spanberger saying she's going to ignore the voice of Virginians, override them, and try to adopt the most gerrymandered map in America. Today we have what is assessed as the fairest map in America. I don't love it. It's 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, but it's fair. and she wants to override it and turn it into the most gerrymandered map in America. It's wrong. Virginians should stand up and vote no tomorrow.
Do you think that Republicans, or even, I understand that there are some Democrats who don't like this either, is there a chance that this might not happen?
There is a chance, and that's because it is viewed as being such a gerrymandered grab of power, and they've lied to us. I mean, even the Washington Post came out and said that this is the most brazenly dishonest campaign from the yes vote, and they effectively endorsed the no vote. The Washington Post held a constitutional referendum, amended our Constitution to have nonpartisan, independent.
Okay, I think it reset right there. Vote no today, Virginia. Text anybody you can. Put it out on social media. Just say, we need you to walk over, drive over, go cast your vote. Do not let the crazies get any more ground in Virginia. They have ruined that state since CIA Spamberger got in there. So make sure you vote appropriately. Get out there. Spread the message, please. Marion says, Virginia worries me. What me worry? What me worry? Said Alfred E. Newman. Hit like, hit the thumbs up button. I don't know if I've hit the thumbs up button. Make sure everybody has hit the thumbs up button on the channel, however you are watching. Share the show with a friend. And we got a lot of news to cover. Trying to see how much I shared from yesterday's show. I probably had a lot. Oh, I said I was going to get into this. This is where I'll start. So yes, we will see on Virginia. I got my eyes on it. Okay. Tommy Callahan said he was throttled after publishing this story and criticizing ESPN for ignoring the story here. He says it's still the most accurate report you'll find on the Vrabel-Rossini story. It's got 3.7 million views, really? Let's take a look. If you don't know the story, let's get you caught up on the story. It's been 2 full days, and every football account on the internet is talking about the Rossini and Vrabel story, while the worldwide leader in sports has not published a single word. Someone in Bristol made that call, given that Rossini represents exactly the kind of uncontrollable outside voice that threatens everything they have built with the NFL, that silence needs to be examined. That silence needs to be examined. For the entire 2025 season, Rossini reported that A.J. Brown was miserable in Philadelphia and that New England was the destination. She kept coming back to it. Her own tweets got community noted for being inaccurate. Adam Schefter publicly distanced himself from her reporting. A.J. Brown contradicted her on camera. Philadelphia radio gave her Eagles Insider of the Year anyway. Then Page 6 drops photos of Rossini and Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel holding hands and hugging at a luxury resort in Sedona. Both deny it. The Athletic defends her. ESPN looks the other way, and nobody is asking the obvious question about these photos. Private resort, no press. Page 6 has a photographer there anyway. Someone made that call. This does not happen by accident. What keeps getting buried is that Rossini covered the Titans for ESPN starting in 2018, the same year Vrabel was hired as Tennessee's head coach. 8 years in, each other's orbit. When you know that, the direction of her A.J. Brown reporting stops looking like coincidence and starts looking like a pipeline straight to New England. Here's what this is actually about. Rossini is a disruptor. She operates outside the ESPN and NFL structure entirely, and her reporting does not just cover outcomes, it influences them. Her A.J. Brown coverage moved markets and created pressure on front offices without anyone's permission. ESPN is locked into billions in broadcast rights with the NFL, and they are functionally the same institution at this point. The Athletic built its entire reputation on not playing that access game. Rossini's sourcing was personal and relational, and nobody could manage or predict it. To ESPN and the NFL, that is not a reporter operating independently. That is a threat that needed to be handled. Nobody knows what happened in Sedona. The question is not about their personal lives. The question is how a story this big simply does not exist on the largest sports media platform in the country. ESPN does not ignore stories. ESPN buries them. And when they do it this cleanly, you already know whose interests they are protecting. And he's got a follow-up. Here's some more photos of them together in the jacuzzi or the pool or something. This is a story I have not covered a bunch, but I think there's a lot going on. I talked about how the coach came out and said Travion Henderson from the Ohio State Buckeyes, now on the Patriots, needs to get more educated about supporting, was the guy's name Jaden Ivey? The one that got cut from his basketball team. I think it was the Bulls. He used to play on the Pistons. After saying that, like, the players don't want having pride night. Like, you just want to play basketball. And so Mike Vrabel comes out and is like, you know, I love Travion. He's a great guy, great family, but I think he just needs to get more educated. Like, you're not allowed to have biblical beliefs. You can't just feel how you feel and call it a day. He's not calling him out because he's like, you know, in somebody's face or provoking someone or being violent or harassing somebody that's just trying to do their thing. I think a lot of life just comes down to harassment. If you're going to harass somebody and try to ruin someone or ruin their day or ruin their mood or get in their face, like if you're harassing people, we got a problem. Otherwise, like, everybody's got their own personal stuff. And it's like, who are we to unpack it? I guess that sort of ties back to that anomaly story about anti-Semitism. Who gets to define that term? What type of prison sentence do you deserve for not holding the same ideals as another human? It doesn't fucking matter what ideals you hold. If you're going to have a bullhorn screaming into someone's ear that could cause permanent hearing loss, throwing bottles of urine, frozen blocks of ice, shooting ammunition, running your car down to take people out, cracking people with bats and sticks, mob attacks, burning down buildings, breaking through windows, then what do I care? Like, what do I care what's going on with your own personal set of this and that? Oh, how do I define what your confusion over this thing is? Who is Mike Vrabel to break down Travion Henderson's personal beliefs? Fuck him. I did not like when that was happening. I did not like the look of it for Vrabel. So when Vrabel got busted, I was like, oh, okay. You know, and Vrabel's a Buckeye. What? Not that that should matter. But I'm just telling you allegiance. I looked at the story and I also drafted Travion Henderson in a dynasty league. So I'm attached to him. I'm rooting for him. And he also brought a national championship title home for me. I don't have a lot of those in my life. And I'm very much appreciative of the Buckeyes and Travion. So I didn't appreciate the Vrabel story, but there's a lot going on in this story, and I want to make sure we cover it. The thread running through this story that hasn't received a lot of attention is the one that makes the least sense if the official version of events is taken at face value. The photos that ended up on page 6 were shopped around before the New York Post published them. An anonymous tipster with no connection to any known photo agency contacted TMZ and other outlets describing what they had as Mike Vrabel with an unidentified woman. Not Diana Rossini by name, just an unidentified woman. TMZ staff had to review the photos to determine who she was. The tipster never named her, never presented the full set of context, and never used her identity to increase the price. Is Vrabel going through a divorce? That asking price was 4 figures. To put that in context, TMZ paid $15,000 for photos of Prince Harry playing strip billiards in Las Vegas. The Ray Rice elevator footage reportedly sold for $90,000. Photos of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie on a beach reportedly went for around $500,000. In this case, someone had a Super Bowl winning head coach and one of the most prominent NFL insiders in the country in a private setting during the offseason and open negotiations at 4 figures. A seller motivated primarily by money would not price it that low. TMZ passed, stating that the material was too close to bedroom policing. But it also raises another possibility. If the material was presented in a way that was incomplete or deliberately vague, that alone can reduce its value in compliance verification. Either way, the New York Post moved forward while TMZ was still evaluating it, and the story spread quickly. Now, consider the setting. Ambiente in Sedona is a Michelin-rated adults-only property where nightly rates start around $1,500 a night and go past $2,600 depending on the room. It has 40 private glass atriums and is marketed as a destination for couples and romantic trips. This type of guest staying there is likely to understand the value of sensitive material involving public figures and how that material is traded. The idea that someone in that environment would misjudge the market value of these photos as low as 4 figures is difficult to explain. Selling photos like this is not passive. It requires contacting multiple outlets with material that will directly affect people's personal lives, relationships, and careers. The way this was handled suggests the goal was not simply to maximize money. The decision to exclude Rossini's name from the initial pitch creates distance between the seller and the subject. It makes the submission appear less targeted and more like casual documentation. That also creates a cover story that the seller simply recognized a public figure and submitted photos for a quick sale rather than having planned or targeted intent. The scope of the photos also matters. There are multiple angles across different settings over the course of a full day, including breakfast, the pool, the hot tub, and the rooftop. In addition, another photo is surfaced of them at a bar in a separate setting. This is not a single accidental capture. It reflects repeated observation across time and location. That pattern raises the question of planning. It also explains why private investigative involvement is a possibility that gets mentioned not as a conclusion, but as a structural explanation for how this kind of coverage typically occurs. Extended multi-angle documentation over time is not typical of casual bystanders. It's more consistent with someone intentionally observing and recording a subject. When all this is considered together, the 4-figure asking price is not the only unusual detail. The more important point is how the information was packaged. The photos were not presented in a way that maximized value or clarity. They were introduced in a way that limits how directly that seller is connected to what's being shown. That includes withholding full identification at the start, presenting partial framing, the use of a level of vagueness that reduces immediate scrutiny of the source. The result is a submission that looks less like a straightforward commercial sale and more like controlled delivery of information with limited exposure of who provided it. Perfect question. So what's your conclusion? Well, think about the spouse angle. Why would either spouse pay a PI to take those photos, then turn around and sell them for only 4 figures, and when they're worth tens of thousands at least, based on who's in them, and makes no knowledge of that one of the people is Diana Rossini? It makes no sense. If it was a spouse, they wouldn't sell those pictures. They'd be with an attorney. Could have been the embarrassment factor. And let's see the divorce trial. Anyway, just us. There's going to be more on this. There's going to be more on this. This is also a story about all of sports media banging each other. You had the Shannon Sharp story, Joy Taylor, Skip. This story is going to be more relevant than you realize. And remember, Robert Kraft was paying for Tug and Jugs, what was it called? Hugs and Tugs, or the owner of that football team, the Patriots, was paying for services rendered from their massage therapist in the Deshaun Watson era. Point being, I just think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be important. Okay, let's keep it moving. Hit like, hit subscribe. Thanks for going down that rabbit hole with me. I've brought this subject up a couple of shows. I'm like, I'll get to it later. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's not that important, but I'm telling you, it is that important. That is going to unravel. If you want to destroy my sweater, pull this thread as I walk away. There's a lot connected to this, I assure you. All right. Non-government organizations fiending. Y'all got any more of them illegal immigrants? Cash, 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 cash. Democrats are always handing pallets of cash to the wrong people. Grok told me this is a true photo. Bowing to the Ayatollah is an assahola. Yeah, that was a rabbit hole story. You're right to put that in the comments, and it's going to keep going. Pat, can anyone solve this puzzle? Yeah, there's a lot of rabbit holes to jump down. That's for sure. I'd say, yeah, by an R. Democrats are destroying America, so vote them out everywhere. Let's check in with the Supreme Court. More leaks? Who's not surprised?
From the Supreme Court, the New York Times reporting it has obtained secret memos which it says, quote, illuminate the origins of the court's now routine shadow docket rulings on presidential power. Joining us now in those not so secret memos, Fox News legal editor Carrie Urban. You know, I was thinking the last big leak out of the Supreme Court was Dobbs. And that was 4 years ago now. Yeah. How time flies. And now this. Where's the stuff coming from?
And there was another one between Dobbs and this one, and that one was on presidential immunity. That was in 2024, I believe, and it was a memo that detailed how the chief was going to handle the decision. And within that same report, and that was also from the New York Times, was one about, there was some information about how he had reassigned an opinion from Justice Alito to himself because of the so-called flag controversy that was happening at his home at the time, if you remember that one. And so we're looking at 3 major leaks over the last 4 years, which is really unheard of for the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, so why?
It's a great question, Sandra. And look, I think these leaks tend to go in one direction. And it is to undercut what the conservative wing of the Supreme Court is doing or is in the process of doing. Certainly that was the case with Dobbs. And we saw what happened there when that decision was leaked. You know, the justices faced violence at their homes. Attorney General Garland, unfortunately, didn't enforce the law at the time that would have stopped the protesters from doing some of the things they were doing around their homes. We remember that time. It was really troubling. It was the same time where that man attempted to murder Justice Brett Kavanaugh. It had some real world possible harms that could have occurred. And so why is
they are the party of political terrorism. That's who they are. You know they are. You have control. Why are you not putting, where are the safeguards? Where are the task forces that are digging into this stuff? Maybe it's a good opportunity to dig into it and find it, because yes, the goal is implicit. I wonder if they got to Amy Coney Barrett. I really do. John Roberts. I think they did. I think they've been threatened. They seem to be compromised for sure. They'd be wise to step down then and say, Coach, I've been compromised. I'm going to say I hurt my ankle. Take me out. or just say, hey, I was elected to a life appointment. I've served a time, and I asked the commander in chief if he'd be all right with me stepping aside to replace me with somebody. There's other things I'd like to do in my life. They always say that. Why don't these old Supreme Court justices? I mean, can't they step aside? I don't know the answer to that question.
Happening. Look, I think there are some disgruntled people that elections have consequences, and a Republican president has made some pretty conservative picks for the Supreme Court, and there are people who are unhappy with that, so they're willing to undercut and bypass the traditions and protocols of the Supreme Court and endanger its future, really, by leaking out things from that building to the general public who don't have the context and are certainly undercutting the public's trust just in the integrity of the institution by doing so.
You know, you got to.
Okay, so yeah, it is common for Supreme Court justices to voluntarily step aside. And that was how we ended up with Ketanji Brown Jackson. Stephen Breyer, appointed by Clinton, retired in 22 at age 83. Anthony Kennedy, appointed by Reagan, retired in 2018 at age 81. That was replaced by Brett Kavanaugh. John Paul Stevens, appointed by Gerald Ford, retired in 2010 at age 90. Replaced by Elena Kagan. David Souter, retired in 2009 at the age 69, one of the younger recent retirees. He disliked DC life. Replaced by Sonia Sotomayor through Obama. Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed by Reagan, first woman on the court. Retired in 2006 at age 75, partly due to her husband's health. Replaced by Samuel Alito, G.W. Bush. Other retirements in recent decades include Harry Blackmun, Byron White, Thurgood Marshall, and Lewis Powell. Those in the early 90s and late 80s. Okay. Yeah. They ain't gonna step down, but what if they're being threatened and their family is like in being terrorized? I think Amy Coney Barrett and John Roberts have probably been compromised and threatened, and they've taken it seriously enough to make some just absolutely head-scratching decisions. Those dirty deep state people, the Ketanji Browns, and they are in lockstep for the most part with all the bad ideas. They just go ideological party line craziness. But man, if it doesn't seem like Roberts and Barrett are playing for the other team. And it's not about playing for Republicans or Democrats, it's just common sense, which is also why I don't support the Democrat Party, because they're not a party of common sense.
From the Supreme Court, the New York Times reporting, it is.
Keep your eyes peeled on the Supreme Court. Montana Supreme Court rules that it's transgender discrimination to require that a person's birth certificate match their biological sex. What? I'm going to have to dig into that story. Montana Supreme Court. Transgender discrimination to require that a person's birth certificate match reality, their biological sex. This isn't pro-trans, anti-trans. It's not pro-Democrat, anti-Democrat, pro-Republican, anti-Republican. You're born biologically how you're born. That's what you are. You can be into what you're into. It doesn't change reality. Montana, I got to dig into this story later. Sassafras 84 reminds us that we only need 5 senators to remove Thune as the majority leader. We only need 5 senators to remove Thune as the majority leader. We only need 5 senators to remove Thune as the majority leader. We only need 5 senators to remove Thune as the majority leader. It's way past time. America will fall into a one-party system if we don't get this passed. Remove Thune and put somebody in who will pass the Save America Act. She typed that without the curse words that I was about ready to say out loud. I don't think I was... I saw them leaving my mouth. I had a stream of curse words. Get Thune out of there. Give him the McCarthy treatment today. You're telling me there's not 5 patriots that can remove Thune? This is a RINO coup on the MAGA agenda if you do not remove Thune. Get him out. I'm done. Marion kind of missed the last part. She was doing some crochet work, asking me to repeat the last thing that I was saying. Sassafras84 says, we only need 5 senators to remove Thune as the majority leader. Now, let's check in on our indoctrination network. Wall Street Ape shares this. This could be a fake video, could be a real video. Appears to be real papers. American father showing what his daughter is being given as far as indoctrination material at her public school. This entire assignment is, well, take a watch.
Watch out for this kind of crap at your local public school. Nonsense. Look at that. My daughter wrote.
Look what I wrote. I'm not doing this. Indoctrination. Oh, look, Kamala can smile. She's been a lawyer. She wants to help others. Oh, Kamala Harris. That's our borders are responsible for how many murders? Yeah. What's the answer to that? Quite a few. Super Bear in Vermont. I really do see you with the V on your chest now. I see a Super Bear, like a Care Bear, and it's got a big V for Vermont. It was bugging me. We get regulars that bounce in and out, and just I can remember a lot of them. It's sort of like remembering what you drink. I might not know your name, but if we start talking, like, oh yeah, that's rum and Diet Coke. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yep, that's the Gentleman Jack double. Tall glass, half ice. That's what I remember. So with you guys, I like trying to put like a geographical component in. Matt Van Swole reports a mass shooting takes place outside of a middle school in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, after 2 minors agreed to, quote, fight each other at a park. 2 confirmed deceased and multiple more victims. I mean, whatever happened to meeting up at a park and settling things with some punches? And there's some chivalry. You don't kick somebody when they're down. I don't know. There's so many of these mob attacks. Like, if one person does it, I'm going to jump in like a hyena. I'm going to get a couple kicks in because I'm a pussy and I can't do it one-on-one. It's not good. That is a bad trend that you see in far too many videos. The mob attack. I'm going to look, I'm going to punch over there. I'm going to throw this at them while they're distracted. Like, that's chicken shit. Stand up to somebody. You got a beef, square it away. Let's see who's standing at the end of it. Not encouraging violence. Also, another story of a young woman who took herself off the chess game in the greater Cleveland area. I was listening to an update on that today as well. Sad story. Jake Rattlesnake says you are not allowed to notice that every Western country opened its borders at the same time, pushed the same ideology at the same time, and is experiencing the same demographic shift at the same time. Just a coincidence. Move on. Mortal UP with Brian Bawdy says, if you have a hornet's nest in your backyard, do you ignore it, pray it will go away, let it grow bigger and stronger, kick the can down the road, waiting to eradicate the hive until your children are swarmed and hospitalized? Or do you take preemptive action and root them out? Once again, we're back to never vote Democrat. That's what the Democrats have done. Like Leon tells us, that's uniparty at its best. Yeah, I know. The last story, of course. 2 stories ago. Wall Street Apes shows us our roads in America are crumbling. This is terrifying.
So anybody coming down 64, don't. I was driving my trailer and I was coming down 64 headed into Illinois. I saw a car hit that and I'm like, what the hell? And I had to go around here. And I got my trailer behind me and I barely missed that. Bro, that's all the way down to the bottom of the...
Oh my God.
I fall through there. It's terrifying. I saw all these cars crashing. And that is a big ass hole. 8 foot by 4 foot, all through there. What a hot mess. So anybody coming down 64, don't.
Don't. Where was this filmed and was this properly repaired? If you're traveling down 64 into Illinois, specifically on a bridge section where a large pavement hole, 8 foot by 4 foot, exposing underlying steel grid rebar support with visible drop to the... Okay, near East St. Louis or the broader I-64 corridor into Illinois. IDOT covered the hole with a steel plate as an immediate temporary measure to make it safe for traffic while a permanent repair was planned. This is explicitly stated in the original post and echoed. Crumbling infrastructure. Diverted funds, Governor Pritzker, higher taxes, tax increases, broader Illinois road issues, Democrat mismanagement. These kinds of bridge deck potholes often stem from water intrusion, freeze and thaw cycles, or deferred maintenance on older concrete over steel decks. Illinois has faced ongoing criticism for road conditions despite tolls and gas taxes and federal funding. Joey Manarino shares this. Here's his story.
I have a big problem with UK immigration.
Why is it not playing?
And Europe
It won't play.
immigration as a whole. And before you call me a racist, because I'm not.
Every time I go away from the page, it stops playing. Well,
Just hear me out.
Glitch. Why would it be doing that? Every time it's never done that before. Oh man, we got so many stories to get there. This kid says his girlfriend was... This guy defended his girlfriend from a Somali who was trying to SA her. The Somali stabbed him and then he tried to defend himself, ending up in the hospital. Scottish justice pursued him with assault charges and convicted him and ruined his criminal record while the Somali was free and didn't even show up. They're bringing savage animals with animal instincts into civilized societies. It's unsustainable, says Joey Manarino.
I have a big problem with UK immigration.
Oh, now it's
and Europe immigration as a whole.
Let's just let him talk
and before you call me a
listen to what he has to
racist,
say.
because I'm not.
This is Democrats or
Just
no
hear me out.
Democrats. Support them or vote
In
them out.
2024, in October, I was stabbed by a Somalian immigrant for defending my girlfriend while he was trying to touch her. He hit me first, and I defended myself, and by the time the whole situation had ended, I had realized I'd been stabbed. I was in hospital for 2 days afterwards, and eventually, once I was let out, they arrested me for defending myself. By the time I came back to Scotland, I had to go to court for it, and he didn't. I was basically just fighting in court against no one. And I ended up losing. And this affected my chances of getting a job because it was put down as assault. And eventually that's all gone away now. I took it to court again and they basically just overruled everything because it was, quite frankly, retarded, okay? But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that it happened to me, but it's the fact it's happening to hundreds of people a week, thousands of people a month. It's not okay. It's not okay to bring people from another country with different cultures who think it's okay to do these things into our country without documenting who they are or where they are, who they have connections to, what they want to do here.
Yep.
It's all just wrong, okay? And that's just the way it is.
And I know I said that's a story of the Democrats, but like I said on that previous post, this was all coordinated globally. We know what we've been doing. We know what they've been up to. We know what they've been aiming at, what the plan has been. This reminds you of Daniel Penny and all the Rittenhouse and all the times that like the non-aggressor has been punished for defending themselves. It's happening globally. Stephen Crowder has this segment here. Actually, let me read you Mehdi Hassan. Mehdi Hassan. Says we live in a country where the two most dynamic, charismatic, eloquent politicians of this century have the first names Barack and Zoran. This is what bothers the white supremacists so much. Crowder says it's not about white supremacy. It's about their record and ideology. Ready? Under Obama, race relations dropped from 60% positive in 2009 to 37% by 2016. Said of Trayvon Martin, this could have been my son. Described Michael Brown as tragic circumstances after Brown robbed a store, assaulted an officer, and reached for his weapon. Apologized for America to Europe and the Muslim world. Sold Obamacare on you can keep your plan. While premiums surged 130%. Mamdani said we should seize the means of production. Wants to replace individualism with collectivism. Said billionaires shouldn't exist. What's with his genocide of billionaires? Advanced race-based policy frameworks through city equity initiatives. And his wife defends terrorists. So, it's sort of about that. Virginia, get out and vote.
2016, when Eric Holder, right when he got out of the Obama administration, started the Democrat Redistricting Commission. And then in 2022 and again in 2024, they pressed to pick up seats in New York. But with all that said, it's about Virginia. And Virginia in 2020 held a constitutional referendum, amended our Constitution to have nonpartisan, independent redistricting. 2/3 of Virginians said we want politics out, politicians out. And now we have Abigail Spanberger saying she's going to ignore the voice of Virginians, override them, and try to adopt the most gerrymandered map in America. Today we have what is assessed as the fairest map in America. I don't love it. It's 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans, but it's fair. And
I think we might have seen a lot of this same clip on the previous post. Michigan Democratic Convention is broken, she says. Libs of TikTok tells us about the leftist delegate has a meltdown at the Michigan Democrat Convention and complains that they did not check for IDs when registering people as delegates. This is the most land-owning 1800s white man bullshit privilege I've seen. They didn't even ask for my ID. By the way, 1800s white man privilege? Point to the bad part of the honor system and integrity, morals, and values that are atrocious to your core beliefs, miss. What are we talking about exactly? Stunned about the IDs. Jesse says, what is this? Jordan Acker? the incumbent Jewish University of Michigan Democrat regent, whose house and car were repeatedly vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti by fanatical left Palestine obsessives, was denied the party's re-endorsement and lost his seat. Instead, they chose Dearborn attorney Amir Makhled, who recently praised Hezbollah and the Iranian terror regime. The Corbynization of America's Democratic Party is near complete. Democrats. Firefighter in Wisconsin. I've played you this story. Overdosing on drugs. After being revived, the guy pulls out a gun and shoots the firefighter. This is from 2019. This is not a story. And it's got a racial component too, that like this is the type of like you couldn't believe it type stories. Except it depends who's the perpetrator and who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, who's the victim, who's the abuser. This is firefighter responding to someone in need. Here's a 4-minute clip with Ro Khanna, but I'll just tell you this part. Maria Bartiromo says 10 presidents before President Trump all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm not going to play I wish it was clipped down to the type part. Because Ro Khanna is getting a lot of glaze. People, that's what the kids are saying. You're glazing him. Lake Leon, I didn't see the fire truck drive right toward that hole. That guy was smart to stop exactly where he did. But Ro Khanna is sort of like in that anti-MAGA, anti-Trump, anti-Republican, but he makes sense on some crossover issues, and so he's easy to reshare in a favorable light from time to time.
Are you suggesting that Obama's...
Yeah, let's get to this.
Are you suggesting that Obama's leadership on Iran was better? Because under President Obama, there were 14 wire transfers to a... Hold on. There were 14 wire transfers to a Swiss account linked to Hezbollah between 2014 and 2016. That was a total of $1.7 billion. The same $1.7 billion he told Congress was frozen Iranian assets. Now, there was a back channel to Tehran through Valerie Jarrett, active for 2012 to 2024. This was after he left office. So, it was almost like a shadow government. He also sent pellets of cash in a plane to Iran. Now, why would you send money to Iran knowing that they are building a nuclear weapon and they are the leading sponsor of terrorism?
Barack Obama was a great statesman who left America much safer. I wouldn't put Donald Trump in the same paragraph. The reality is when President Obama left, because of the great efforts of people like Valerie Jarrett, we had 97% of the enriched uranium out. The reality is we didn't have 13 American service members dead. The reality is we never had gas go up from $2.30 to $4. The reality is we did not give China more role in the region. Let me finish, Maria. I'll let you finish.
Okay,
we didn't give China more role in the region. We did not give the IRGC a more hardline regime in there. You know why? Because Obama actually did his homework. He actually tried to engage in statesmanship. He got China, Russia, the entire European allies on board with getting Iran on a path to not having a nuclear weapon. All Trump did is listen to Netanyahu. That's his entire foreign policy. And you know what? I resent the fact that Israel is going to tell the United States what to do. The American president should call the shots in this country.
The American president should call the shots in this country, but you and your colleagues are trying to clip his wings right now with this war powers vote. I agree, the president is in charge, but look, a lot of the things that you just said...
That's where he's agreeing with Thomas Massey, the Marjorie Taylor Greene, the anomalies, there's a laundry list of people who seem to be almost exclusively against President Trump. Almost exclusively. To the point of, now, how are we just going to disagree with almost everything? Because there's a lot of common sense stuff that shouldn't be too complicated. But even there, you've seen the Tucker Carlson, the Megyn Kelly, the Alex Jones, the who was the fourth on that? I forget.
Are just not true, Congressman. I mean, look, we have to look at this realistically. And President Obama sent money to the Iranians, and what did they do?
Yeah. Oh gosh, her voice. Maria is pretty smart, but I do agree. So many women's voices are annoying. Hers being one. Her voice makes my eyes bleed. Yeah, you know, I will probably need to think this through. But lady voices in Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, NFL football, interviewers, long talkers. Maybe it's when people scream and or raise their voices. But there's also like a shrillness to it, something that sits on a particular specific register. And maybe that harkens back to our moms constantly and just being nagged. Maybe every mother has a vocal register of, hey, stop that. It's the same way I talk to my cats. Hey, stop fighting. But yeah, Maria Bartiromo, it's a lot of David makes it easy. The Democrats lie every time they're on TV. How can you tell when a Democrat's lying? Their mouth is moving.
They resumed their buildup of
That's not true.
Enrichment.
That's not true.
Yeah,
Not true.
What's not true?
Not
What's
true.
not true? What specifically about that sentence is not true?
There was a deal that we reached to get 97% of the enriched uranium out. In the process of that, Iran had certain assets that were Iranian assets, wasn't our money, that was unfrozen. And that was a deal that China, Russia, France, UK, Canada, the United States all agreed to. And then you had Netanyahu come in and try to torpedo it, and AIPAC tried to torpedo that deal. We were on a path to having a denuclear Iran, but what happened is...
Wait, you're saying AIPAC tried to nuke that deal? Wait, hold on. What did he say?
Iran had certain assets that were Iranian assets, wasn't our money, that was unfrozen. And that was a deal that China...
It was not our money. It was their money.
Russia, France, UK, Canada, the United States all agreed to. And then you had Netanyahu come in and try to torpedo it, and AIPAC tried to torpedo that deal. We were on a path to having a denuclear Iran, but what happened is it wasn't in Netanyahu's interest and AIPAC's interest, and they've dragged us into another war in the Middle East. They've hurt American people, and the American people are tired of it. They want people who are going to be Team America. They want people who are going to bring gas prices down here and care about our nation and get...
Please stop glazing, Rokana. But by the way, in one sentence, under the Iran nuclear agreement, sanctions relief unfroze approximately 150 billion in Iranian assets frozen abroad, with usable liquid amounts estimated closer to 50 billion, a third of that, after debts, enabling Tehran to regain control of its own money previously restricted by the international sanctions regime.
Us out of these wars, and that's why Obama won. He was against the Iraq war. That's why he was on a path to normalization in terms of getting Iran to be denuclear, and had the whole world on our side. And AIPAC, Netanyahu tore that up.
Relax. Congressman, it doesn't change the fact that 10 presidents before President Trump all said the same thing.
I think there's some connection issue.
Congressman,
now I can hear you.
Congressman, it doesn't change the fact that 10 presidents before President Trump all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They are the leading state sponsor of terrorism. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And one president delivered, and that was Barack Obama.
No, that's not true. Not one of them did anything about it.
Barack Obama is the only one who delivered.
Congressman, you're talking fantasy.
Obama is the one that delivered. Yeah, she is tough to listen to.
10 presidents before President Trump all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. They are the leading state sponsor of terrorism. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
And one president delivered, and that was Barack Obama.
No, that's not true. Not one of them did anything about it.
Barack Obama is the only one who delivered.
Congressman, you're talking fantasy.
97%
Obama did
out.
nothing about it. You're talking fantasy. Obama did nothing about
Not true.
it.
Obama did nothing about it.
Other than send money to the
Obama
Iranians.
got the whole world.
Other than send money to the Iranians.
He didn't send money to them. That's just factually false. He unfroze Iranian assets, but he had the whole.
Okay, Ro Khanna, the fuck is the difference? He unfroze frozen assets. He didn't send the money. He unfroze money. Bro, there's no fucking difference. The fact that you're arguing that's a differentiation without a difference.
About it. You're talking fantasy. Obama did nothing about
Not true.
it. Other than send money to the
Obama
Iranians.
got the whole world. He didn't send money to them. That's just factually false. He unfroze Iranian assets, but he had the whole world behind us. How many countries do we have behind us now? Obama had Russia, China, Canada, UK, France.
Well, Russia, China, Canada. Wow. Those are some bastions of freedom and liberty across the globe, aren't they?
The whole world on board, and they lost 97%.
Now, Congressman, now you lost me. Saying Obama had Russia and China in their corner. I think you know better than most that Russia and China are not in our corner. Congressman, we will continue this discussion.
This issue.
And we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Ro Khanna.
Thank you, Maria.
You got it.
Goodness. Whew. Brutal. 10 presidents before Trump all said the same thing. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And one president delivered. That was Barack Obama. He did nothing about it other than send money to the Iranians. Goodness. But please stop glazing him. It's embarrassing. Life News, how much do they love abortion? Leftist Supreme Court justices facing accusations that they literally put their conservative colleagues' lives at risk because they were so beholden to Roe v. Wade and abortion on demand. Liberal Supreme Court justices slow-walked completion of their dissents in the landmark Dobbs case, according to a new book. Delayed the official release 53 days, even as the 5 conservative justices in the majority faced death threats and assassination attempts following the leak. Okay. And they're doing something similar now is the accusation. Whoop. Check out yesterday's show, Dems' Secret Power Grab. Available on Spotify right here. Make sure you're following our podcast on Spotify, please. And consider dropping us a Rumble rant or a Super Chat. We're also on for monthly support at Patreon at The New American Media, Rumble, The New American Media, YouTube, The New American Media, all places you can drop a reoccurring tip, set it and forget it, and then we get an allocation of building blocks each month to help finance and fund everything about life. You know, we do this so that this can grow and expand and become the thing that we do. And the more it is able to provide in that realm, the more we're able to deliver for you. But yeah, we scan through all these stories to find a bunch of interesting stuff. If you want to hear about the news and have a good time in the process, and your comments jump into the show, and you know, it's a good place to hang out. If your schedule allows for it, it's a really good place to hang out. So tell a friend, share the show, get our podcast for the Agree to Disagree show on Spotify and Apple, whatever they call it these days. You can find it there. But it's pinned on our X account right here. All right, let's check in with Larry Ellison, asking the one question that no journalist on earth can answer, says this poster. Dustin, what say you?
Elon doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to have to go.
Oh, hold on. This has got to be AI. Hold on. Wait. Is this post AI? It instantly didn't look right. No, it does not appear to be AI generated. No, hold on. No, hold on. Is this Larry Ellison post AI? Just the way it's edited together, it feels off. No, it's not AI generated. Describing confronting a Wall Street Journal reporter who criticized Elon. Let's take a listen. Okay. Just wanted to double check. I'll give you a thumbs up on that. Thank you. And if that's incorrect, tell me, but I'll operate under the assumption that this is a real conversation, real words.
Elon doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to have to go out for money. I'm really smart. I work for the Wall Street Journal. And I said, who are you? This guy's landing rockets. You know, he's landing rockets on you know, robot drone rafts in the ocean. And you're saying he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, who else is landing rockets? You ever land a rocket? Okay, you're telling me he's an idiot. I just want to know who you are so I know. Why should I believe you as opposed to my friend Elon, and we're out here watching this rocket land, and which I think is really cool. And you're there in front of your, you know, your Apple Macintosh and typing up an article saying Elon's an idiot. I had to get that. Elon doesn't know what he's doing. He's going to have to go out for money. I'm really smart. I work for the Wall Street Journal. And I said, who are you? This guy's landing a rocket.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a real quote then. But yeah, a lot of this is who are you? Who are you? What are you doing? Who are you? To say much of anything here. Who are you? And that's a lot of what's right and what's wrong about the country. You know, it's interesting that we all have a voice, and I'm participating in that. Who am I? I guess any human can say, who am I? Who are you? Because end of the day, we all have something. Not everybody has everything. But it doesn't mean just because you're not an expert, you're not allowed to talk. Like that's how you become educated, is you talk, you listen, you ask questions, you learn. Yeah, it's sort of the man in the arena. It's not that hard to sit back and criticize the people who are doing things. Why don't you step into the arena? Why don't you get punched a few times, get bloodied and beaten, dusty, knocked to the ground, stand back up, do it again, try it again. Yeah, it's easy for the critic, the naysayer. Jonathan Turley tells us yesterday, Eric Holder added his voice to call for the nation's most radical gerrymander in Virginia. His self-portrayal as the reluctant gerrymanderer is a bit forced. He previously said that once back in power, Democrats would pack the Supreme Court to retain power. Eric Holder is one of the worst people out there. Here it is on Spotify, our podcast posted here on X. And then here's the other show about the 2020 coup exposed. Proud Boys innocent, Ilhan scandal. This one here is the Dem secret power grab, Trump hypersonic declassification. So check it out. Elon shares us a chart of American trust in mass media. It was at 70% back here in 1980. Around 68, 72%. Boom. Down to 50-50 at 9/11. Well, maybe the jump down. Where are we at now? 25% maybe. It used to be close to 3/4, 75%. 72%, call it 75. 3/4 to 1/4. Lost half of America. Good. Elon says for good reason. The New American Media says that these current numbers are still far too high. Attorney General Ken Paxton says, I just filed a landmark lawsuit against Act Blue for deceiving Americans by lying about its donation processes that allows fraudulent and foreign donations. GOP Representative Mike Lawler gets confronted as to why he voted with Democrats to protect 350,000 Haitian migrants with temporary status. He's demanding protections for Haitian healthcare workers. Let's play it.
I'm glad you are. To extend temporary protective status for hundreds of thousands of Haitian migrants living in the U.S. This comes just weeks after an illegal alien from Haiti allegedly killed a woman in Florida with a hammer. Congressman Brandon Gill joined us last night and had this to say about that House vote.
There is a very large cheap labor lobby in Washington where businesses will come and they'll meet with members of Congress individually. You hear members of Congress actually on both sides of the aisle who have said that the healthcare system in the United States will collapse if we don't give amnesty to Haitians.
All right, Congressman, you knew this was coming. I want to give you a chance to defend this position. I know that you have. I want to say I have respect for the fact that you have Haitians in your district. I respect the fact that you have Democrats in your district. I know that unlike some, you are in maybe a difficult position. However, perhaps I'm misunderstanding the temporary part of the temporary protected status. It feels like this is never ending. It feels like we've become a hotel for the third world. I'm fired up about it. I'm not happy with it. So I want to give you a chance to explain why you voted the way you did.
Good. You're called out on it. Okay. As you should have to defend yourself on that. I believe it was Ronald Reagan that said there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. That's why.
Well, I appreciate it. A few things. Number one, we're all in agreement that the Biden administration's policies were disastrous and needed to stop. President Trump ran on securing the border and won on that. He ran on deporting criminal aliens and won on that. We are fully in agreement on that. I want to end illegal immigration into this country. TPS, you are correct, is supposed to be temporary. TPS was put in place for Haitians going back to 2010. It was extended numerous times, not just because of natural disasters, but because of political unrest. Their president was assassinated in 2021. And it has created a real crisis on the ground. The gangs are in control of Haiti, and you have gun trafficking from Miami into Port-au-Prince. The State Department has said it is not safe for Americans to travel to Haiti and has removed personnel. Homeland Security says it's safe for everybody to go back. The reality is it is a disaster on the ground in Haiti. I am not looking.
It's a disaster on the ground, so these people can't go back. They're here now forever. They just live here now. That's what we're doing.
For this to be a permanent solution.
That sounds like a permanent solution.
But I do recognize that we have a real crisis here. Number one, about a third of the people on TPS work in our healthcare system. They work in our hospitals. They work in our nursing homes.
Okay. Why aren't we hiring Americans to work these jobs? This doesn't make sense.
They provide care for the intellectually and developmentally disabled. If you immediately cut off TPS without extending work authorization while these immigration cases are being adjudicated, it will create a crisis in our healthcare system. What I asked the administration for over a year ago was, if you are ending TPS, please extend the work authorization for those in the healthcare sector while the case is being adjudicated so that we don't have a crisis in our healthcare system. I want to work with the administration to address this challenge, but just cutting off TPS on people who, by the way, are lawfully here. TPS is a lawful status. We can argue about the way the Biden administration abused the parole process. That's why we worked against it. We passed H.R. 2. I have fought back against every Biden administration policy on
Mike Lawler, Republican, New York.
On immigration. I have fought to secure the border. I have fought to end sanctuary cities. I want proof of citizenship to vote, proof of citizenship for government benefits. But the fact is, we have to deal with this realistically and not just throw the baby out with the bathwater when you are dealing with a real crisis in our healthcare system.
Congress. It really sounds like they just baked the cake, and it is what it is now.
I'm glad you are, to extend.
Keep your eyes peeled on that. Kevin Sorbo tells us the right controls the House and the Senate and the presidency. How is it that we can't pass a single bill that Americans actually want? This is footage of an SUV on the wrong side of the road running over LASD recruits. Rick says, I see footage that was paused for 15 seconds and then the aftermath. Kevin says, that's how it was released. I'm cool with not seeing flying bodies. Oh, gosh. Injuries range from head trauma to broken bones and loss of limbs, the sheriff noted. One recruit is on a ventilator. They were driving the wrong way, didn't stop. No way that's not intentional. What recruits are we talking about here? LASD. Los Angeles Sheriff's Department recruits running in formation on a Whittier Street. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Oh. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Is that an old story? I've never seen it before. The driver was, yeah, this is from 2022. Thank you. All right. I'm seeing this for the first time, so I thought it might have been something that just happened. Either way, 22-year-old Nicholas Gutierrez was not intoxicated and claimed that he felt sleepy. Later charged with vehicular manslaughter, gross negligence, and reckless driving, causing great bodily injury, facing 12 years if convicted. One recruit did pass. Doubt that it was purely accidental, given the driver's path and acceleration. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and you're saying that's old. I remember that. I feel like it would be a good policy for older videos to just get a timestamp to like tell us when something happened and just keep it in the corner. Something you can toggle on and off, but everything should be like original video appeared in 2017. You go, oh, I thought this was new. But once again, I give all my great ideas away for free. I really should be working in the user experience angle. But this is the new part to it. That's the old story, but check out the update on what happened here. Okay? Old story, new update, ABC 7.
How do you plead? Guilty. In a courtroom packed full of law enforcement and their loved ones, Nicholas Gutierrez changing his plea, admitting to crashing into dozens of LA County Sheriff's Department recruits who were out on a training run.
You're charged in the indictment with 11 crimes involving 10 separate victims, all in a single incident that occurred on November 16, 2022.
Investigators say Gutierrez fell asleep while driving, drifting across traffic, going the wrong way on Mills Avenue in Whittier, where a group of 76 recruits from Academy Class 464 were running. 25 of them were injured, 9 of them gravely, and 27-year-old Army veteran Alex Martinez was killed.
Is it your wish to accept the benefit of this negotiated plea and avoid potentially a harsher sentence?
Yes.
Gutierrez was charged with 1 count of vehicular manslaughter with gross negligence and 9 counts of reckless driving on a highway causing a specified injury, facing a maximum sentence of 12 years in prison. Now, in exchange for pleading guilty to all of his charges, the terms state he will receive a suspended sentence of 8 years and 5 years of probation, meaning as long as he doesn't violate his conditions, he will avoid time behind bars.
You understand and agree that any violation of law or violation of probation will be good cause for the court to impose the suspended sentence and send you to state prison for the full 8-year term, with no other option to impose a lesser term.
Yes.
As the judge has accepted the plea agreement, Gutierrez, now 25 years old, is set for formal sentencing on May 8th.
The defendant is convicted upon his pleas and admissions.
You know, and I don't know how intentional this actually was, but, you know, one of the thoughts I did have is, you know, this is the type of story that you could actually understand at least a theory where you could have some sort of leniency or grace. If it could be argued that this guy was not intoxicated, he wasn't, you know, he wasn't like, I hate the U.S. sheriffs. I can't, they drive down my road. They run, they jog down my street every day and they make noise and they keep me from sleeping. I'm going to go get them. Like, no premeditation, no intent. Just maybe you checked your phone, you lost something, you reached down and you didn't realize you were reaching for 3-4 seconds. You veered into the. People could make mistakes. You don't accidentally do what that UPS driver did to that little girl. That's not accidental. That is demonic. But if this was a guy that was just sleepy or you got distracted or the dog started throwing up in the back seat and you went, and you got discombobulated for a second, you turned around and you were trying to, that's something I could at least understand. So I don't know. I don't know if this guy's getting away with something. But this is the type of thing. I don't know, man. 0 time in prison. Do you agree or disagree that this guy should be let out without going to prison? Tell me in the comments. All right. So yeah, older story, but that's the update. Here's a current story. These dopes that attacked Savannah Hernandez.
Maybe you guys do get doxxed, but I don't know if you guys are getting the same type of stuff that we're getting. And it's nonstop. It's hundreds of phone calls a day. It's text messages and them trying to get into all of our social media accounts and contacting our friends, our neighbors, our family. The rest of our family is getting doxxed as well. It's not just us.
It's clear what that guy did. Why is he not in jail?
Their wives, like people that had nothing to do with anything. It's a little overwhelming and makes me second guess even living in this country, to be honest with you, with all this going on. I've never had this happen in my life.
I've never had this happen where I blasted a little lady reporter. She's a very modest stature. I've talked with her several times in Bronx and, I don't know, Chicago. It all starts to blur together. It's a little girl, normal size. That's a big dude that just blasted her in the mid upper back, whiplash onto the ground. And he's the one trying to play the victim? No, thank you. Oh, woe is him. Oh, it's making me question whether I'd even want to stay in America if I can't abuse a nonviolent woman without repercussions. If IQ points could be awarded with visual representation, this guy might have a bag of Skittles if he's lucky. Why is he out right now? Where was that push?
Social calls a day, and it's nonstop. It's hundreds of phone calls a day. It's text messages and them trying to get into all of our friends, our neighbors, contacting our friends, our neighbors, contacting our friends, our neighbors, and contacting our friends, our neighbor accounts, and contacting our friends, our accounts, and contacting our friends, and contacting our friends, our contacting our friends.
Oh, now he's doing a press tour and has a GoFundMe. After assaulting them on video, violent Marxist Krist Ashkarushko now second-guessing living in the U.S. Clown world, says Liz Churchill. Mom Donnie joins a routine inspection from Housing Preservation and Development. As stated in the original post with this video, code inspections are part of his agenda as mayor. Housing Preservation and Development. Hey, you want Mom Donnie knocking on your door to inspect how you're living?
How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
How are you?
I'm all right.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Mayor Mom Donnie, we're here to inspect the home and to make sure everything's up to code.
You're in charge now.
All right, ready? Tell me where to go.
You want to check the window guard?
Okay. 11 is a negative.
That's $20. It's broken. This is not supposed to be.
There's a lot of New Yorkers who live with a worry about whether or not the conditions they're living in are actually up to code. As you can see, it's the city's job to deliver on that.
Her hands crossed like, I don't need your ass snooping around any of my shit. Are you living under conditions that are out of code? Fuck you. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I have a lot of experience with the City of LA Housing Authority. If you're going to have a contract to put the destitute into housing for $100 a month where everyone else is paying $3,500, it would probably be a good idea to make sure that those units are well maintained. Also, renters don't really care about property that isn't theirs. Seinfeld has that joke about, oh, I'll be getting the extra insurance because you better believe I'm going off-roading with this thing. Or something along those lines. You knew how to take the reservation. The taking of the reservation wasn't the part that I think you had the problem with. I think the problem you had was the delivering on the reservation. See, I placed the reservation and you give me a car. I did my part, but you're not giving me the car. But yeah, I get that the housing authority should, and they did. I will say, to their credit, they went through and gave the low flow flushing toilets, the low flow for pee and the other side for solid waste. That was good. There were some times that maybe windows and maybe things could be upgraded, but it was also hodgepodge. We had to kind of come up with an idea of like, all right, if you get windows, they all have to be white. They can't be various colors. You don't think you'd have to say something like this, but then the old buildings were painted with random colors on the windows, but then as people got new windows, they mixed and matched. So I'm not totally against this.
Specific code we're looking at, the importance of it is for kids.
And by the way, in Los Angeles, I had to call the housing inspector because they boxed in a balcony. And that was my room when I moved to Los Angeles. I slept in an enclosed balcony. But they didn't build it right, and the window was taking in water. The water was turning to mold, and I couldn't breathe in there. And because I was calling and not getting help from the landlord, I called the city. They inspected. They said, you don't have a permit for this. And it's got mold and shit all over here. Get out of here. They had to knock the wall out. But then I lost my bedroom. Then I had to sleep in a kitchen for 6 months. So yes, I hate the commies, and I don't want to have to ask permission to live, and I don't want you snooping around my house and telling me what's out of date and what's not. Just go. You want to do things for you and your organization, fine.
Yeah. You know, children under the age of 6.
Anyway.
Yes.
He knows this stuff, huh?
All right.
Those were 1, 2, 3.
3.
Those were 3. The AC.
4.
Okay. We're also going to hit him with a window guard violation, and then we have here.
So here this is New York. They're going to be sending the owner of this place, hey, now you got to do these 15 things. More money, more hassle, more expense. Now, if you did stuff like enclose a room that's going to make people sick from mold, I do understand that you shouldn't be able to do that.
The one violation.
I'm torn on this one. I didn't know that I'd be this torn.
The local law 86.
Which is the incomplete information on the side?
No, that's another one.
That's another one.
That's a different one. So that's 2.
Another one.
Yes, so that's 2.
Okay. It was a pleasure to be here at this building with a number of inspectors from HPD to ensure that these conditions are up to code. And what these inspectors showed me and showed tenants across this building is the inspections for heat violations, for paint peeling violations, for even just the information that is plastered as you come into the building. Over the course of this inspection, they found about 6 different violations that they will now issue directly to the landlord. Now, for any New Yorker who calls this city home, know that when you see those kinds of violations or you feel them, call 311, report them. HPD will come out and inspect them, and if they are indeed violations of housing code, we will hold landlords accountable.
I'm actually a little torn on that. I asked if you agree or disagree. You say, oh no, disagree. That guy should be in jail for running those people over. Like Leon, driving the wrong way. Nope, that guy's guilty. He knew. Marion throws my line back at me. Maybe so, maybe not. Oh yeah, that guy that assaulted Savannah Hernandez. He thinks what he did was okay. Absolute dope. Lake says, yeah, that'd be the last door that he knocks on. Well, nobody really wants someone breathing down your neck. Housing preservation and development. So it's not randomly knocking on doors demanding to inspect people's homes. But if you're a landlord and you got tenants and the tenants have complaints and you're not fixing them, I actually benefited from this greatly in Los Angeles. And as far as benefited, I didn't gain anything. I actually lost. I lost the room. It was a 2-bedroom, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people staying with us. Probably a code violation. But we were able to get rid of the mold. I just lost my bedroom in the process. Here's Savannah Hernandez. She says, this is who the left is. This is left-wing asshole Brian Shapiro in her DMs threatening lawsuits, calling her an effing idiot, telling me I've been faking my injuries all week because he doesn't like my politics. He's apparently set to go on OANN and Fox News and states that he's going to blast me for lying. He's now blaming the backlash against the Ostroshko family on me, saying it's my fault. They've been fired from their jobs. He's been sending me extremely aggressive messages all week, and I normally wouldn't respond to this type of behavior, but it's truly unhinged, and he's promised to help the family sue me for defamation. This is who the left wing is. They hate you. They will assault you. They'll blame you for it. They'll try to raise money off of it and then sue you for defending yourself. Truly disgusting people. I agree 100%. 100% accurate. That's not everyone, but that is the radical arm of that party. And that's the 19% approval rating. That's the 1 in 5 that are down for this, either tacitly or a little more sneakily. They'll fund it and they'll support it, but they can't talk about it. And I suspect it's much higher than that, actually. Hey, you want a reminder that Kamala Harris is a dopey racist? Here you go.
I think it's okay for us to be a bit transactional too. And to say, I'm gonna get mine also.
Wow. Is this Jasmine Crockett or nope, this was our former vice president somehow. Go ahead, Democrats. This will make your party popular.
I think it's okay for us to be a bit transactional too. And to say, I'm gonna get mine also. And so don't count on me to be a voter and be the backbone of the Democratic Party, because it is my value system and my ethics and my sense of civic duty and responsibility, so that you look at me and say, oh, they're going to vote. I think it's
well, that was specifically as presented by End Wokeness. I don't think that clip exactly said black women. Kamala Harris says black women need to be more selfish. Start saying, I'm going to get mine. I didn't hear that in this clip.
I think it's okay for us to...
I guess the us was implied.
...to be a bit transactional too.
Okay. Brad Todd says, how do you rig an election? You rig the question. Look at this ballot asking Virginians to flip a 6 Democrat, 5 Republican congressional map to a 10 Democrat, 1 Republican map, breaking up every region of the Commonwealth. Yet the ballot says to restore fairness. That's rigged. Vote no. Should the Constitution of Virginia be amended to allow the General Assembly to temporarily adopt new congressional districts to restore fairness in the upcoming elections, while ensuring Virginia's standard redistricting processes resumes for all future redistricting after the 2030 census? To temporarily go batshit crazy because you have Trump derangement syndrome. Unreal. Let's check in with Washington, D.C. Nick Sorter says, here's Congolese, air quote, refugees block the roads in Washington, D.C. today, raging that America isn't doing enough for them.
We need justice! Justice!
You need. Do you need? You need? Who are you? I need. Come in my house and tell me I need? You need to get out of my house. Barge in here telling me I need.
Justice!
Let's say justice. Nick Sorter says this is why we can't keep up this third world refugee program. No matter how much you give them, they always demand more. Deport. John Thune says the Senate has pressing stuff more important than election integrity. I can't think of anything more important than election integrity. Can you?
Their largest refund in years. Money that is going toward paying down credit card debt, catching up on bills, padding saving accounts, or covering the cost of a vacation, end quote. Money that is going toward paying down credit card debt, catching up on bills, padding savings accounts, or covering the cost of a vacation. Mr. President, that was our goal with this bill. To take some of the pressure off, to free up money that families could use to do things like pay down debt or put away for a rainy day or take a much-needed vacation. Thanks to the working families tax cuts, Americans now have a little more breathing room in their budgets. And whether we're passing tax relief, new measures to make prescription drugs more affordable at the pharmacy counter, or legislation to address the cost of housing, Republicans will continue to work to make life more affordable for hardworking Americans. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of quorum.
We'll call the roll.
John Thune. Scott Pressler says, if Leader Thune doesn't pass the Save America Act by the end of April, I'm going to put every ounce of my energy into making sure Ken Paxton wins the Senate runoff May 26, and that is a promise. What kind of Senate leader disregards the wants of 85% of American people? Asks Gunther Eagleman. Eagleman. God, this is crazy. Gunther Eagleman. Mike Engleman. I don't like this. I don't normally have people with similar last names in my proximity. Now I have two of them on the same screen. I'm not okay with this. Chat, I'm not okay. This is what I referenced a moment ago. Gregory Bovino. What was he formerly with? ICE? I want to make sure it was the right organization, right group. I forget. I think it was ICE because he was transferred out of Chicago and then to California, and then he retired. He says it started at 10 million 30 years ago, with millions a year entering since then, all under administrations, except Trump, culminating in 20 to 30 million additional under Biden alone. Given on the ground assessments across all major regions of the U.S. in conjunction with both scholarly estimates and empirical evidence indicating 30 to 50 million as far back as 2012, the conservative number sits at 100 million illegal alien invaders inside America. More than 50, fewer than 100. Either way, that's more than the 40 that I talk about. I actually think I'm kind of low on the estimates. They pretty much say 20. And if they say 20, yeah, it's got to be more than 20. All right. Let's keep it moving. Wall Street Mav says Bovino saw that data from the inside. He says there's 100 million illegals in America. Mass deportations for 4 years won't be enough. We need a mass deportation and immigration moratorium for at least a decade. Not a single Republican should be supporting any bill that lets even one illegal alien stay. I get that perspective. I do. But I think what I would push for, having lived in Los Angeles and worked in Los Angeles and know a lot of people, I think you definitely need to tag and bag everybody. Oh my God, you're talking about them like they're pigeons or doves, like they're grouse, like they're hens. Tag and bag them. They should be. I think I've said this forever. Every person needs to get like a purple card. Not a green card. It doesn't mean you get to become American. It doesn't mean your kids are, just because you knocked a kid out on our territory and you're not a citizen, and your kid doesn't mean your kid's not a citizen. This whole birthright citizenship doesn't make any sense in context. But if there are people who can go get their ID, run the background check, if they're working somewhere, look, we have a lot to unplug and sort out in our job market. If there are people that are working and these are jobs that could go to Americans, I totally agree with that. But what if by going to get your ID, it's like, hey, senor, can I go out and then come back in? Well, yeah, you got to go. Yeah, but I'd like to come back. I've been working over here for like 7 years. Yeah, but you're not paying it. I know. Can I get the purple card? Can I get the purple card? And then you'll get my fingerprints. You'll do DNA. You'll know where I am. And I'll get paid and I'll pay taxes and then you'll know where I am and where I'm living and I'll be okay. I'll be the last one that you kick out if I don't cause any problems while I'm here. Well, I mean, if there's 10 people and that person goes, hey, I'm not causing a problem. I do want to be here. I came out on vacation. I just kind of stayed and I just never went back. There's probably 1,000 compelling stories. There might be tens of millions of compelling stories. Also, I don't give a shit stories, but having met a lot of these people and worked with a lot of these people or around them, I would care so much less about the ones that go, put me on the radar, I'll be a known character. I won't cause any problems. I'd be super respectful to this place. I just want to stay. I want to work. I want to earn a living, not cause any problems. If I could become American, I would renounce the Guatemalan, or what? Then you got to do the physical dance. All right, I'll go to Tijuana. I will cross to Tijuana. And then I'll check in there. I'll get my purple card. Then I can walk back in because I'm still working there and I'm not a problem. I'm not a threat. I don't want to harm anyone. I can come right back. It's just kind of like, well, physically doing it versus just raising your hand to do it. I can understand a little bit of that. I can understand it. Holy shit, 100 million people here, non-citizens, taking us in a totally different direction than what this country's all about. It's a problem. And Wall Street Mav says not a single Republican should be supporting any bill that lets even one illegal alien stay. LH Gray says, wake the fuck up, America. Listen to James Carville. He didn't mumble it. He didn't dog whistle it. He screamed it from the mountaintop on his own goddamn podcast. Day one, grant statehood to D.C. and Puerto Rico. Pack the Supreme Court to 13. Justices for life turn justices for the party. Torch the Senate filibuster. Rewrite the rules. Lock in permanent structural dominance while the rest of us are still blinking at the ballot box. Fuck it, he said. Eat our dust. Don't run on it. Don't talk about it. Just do it. That's not politics. That's pathology. This is the same institutional arson that has toppled republics at the dawn of time. The Athenians watched their democracy devolve into demagoguery and judicial murder. The Romans let their Senate become a rubber stamp for emperors who first expanded the courts, then owned them. Weimar Germany's elites thought they could game the system with emergency powers and emergency majorities until the emergency swallowed the Constitution whole. Every time a ruling class decides the written charter is an inconvenience to their permanent majority, the body count starts with norms and ends with nations. Carville isn't having a senior moment. He's performing the tell. Authoritarians always do. They confess their intentions with the serene confidence of predators who believe their prey is too domesticated to notice the teeth. Psychology 101. Projection wrapped in contempt. They accuse you of threats to democracy while openly plotting to repeal the Electoral College, abolish the Senate's equal representation, and turn the judiciary into 9 to 13 member super legislature that answers to one party only. It's not hypocrisy. It's strategic sadism. The pleasure of watching you pretend it's still 1787 while they rewrite 2029 in real time. They don't hate the Constitution because it's old. They hate it because it works. It was engineered by men who studied every failed republic in history and built in firewalls. Separation of powers, federalism, enumerated rights, an amendment process deliberately slower than a Senate filibuster on a Tuesday. Those firewalls are the only thing standing between you and a one-party state where the Supreme Court becomes the DNC's legal department and the Senate becomes a rubber stamp for whatever coastal oligarchs and academic clerisy decide is progress. Believe them. They're telling you exactly how they will torch it because they've already done the math. Slim majority, doesn't matter. They'll nuke the rules, flood the map with new blue senators for life, and dare you to stop them. And when you scream unconstitutional, they'll smile and say, the Constitution is whatever they say it is on day one. This isn't hyperbole. This is history on a collision course with denial. Fuck around, find the fuck out. The American experiment doesn't survive contact with people who view the founding document as an obstacle instead of the operating system. They want you demoralized, distracted, and gaslit into believing that it can't happen here. It already is. The only question left is whether the sleeping giant finally opens its eyes before the match hits the fuse. They told you. They meant it. They're coming for the hardware. Time to decide if you're going to watch the Constitution burn or finally grow the spine to put the fire out. Lake Leon says, yep, get them all out first. I agree with Bovino. We're not getting their best and their brightest. Nope, get out. You should have done that when you came in. I really like this article from LH Gray. I don't know who this is. I can't follow this account, but I've shared more than one thing here. I've done this before. I need to fix my follow count and follow a few more. Have you noticed that President Trump keeps talking about nuclear dust? Asks clandestine. He says he will be getting it or bringing it back as if to say that we had it before. I don't think this is an accident. I think Trump is telling us that the uranium used to be ours, meaning Obama gave Iran U.S. uranium.
The big thing we have to do is we have to make sure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, because if they do, you want to talk about problems, you'd have problems. So very important is that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon, and they've agreed to that. Iran's agreed to that, and they've agreed to it very powerfully. They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. So we have a lot of agreement with Iran, and I think something's going to happen very positive.
Bringing it back. I've taken note of that phrase as well.
And I can tell you that we've been called by the other side. They'd like to make a deal very badly, very badly.
What was the sticking point over? You said it was over nuclear.
It was over nuclear, very similar. Yeah, very good. I guess you're listening. It's over the fact that they will never have a nuclear weapon. Iran, you marking it down? Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And we agreed to a lot of things, but they didn't agree to that. And I think they will agree to it. I'm almost sure of it. In fact, I am sure of it. If they don't agree, there's no deal. There'll never be a deal. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and we're going to get the dust back. We'll get it back. Either we'll get it back from them or we'll take it.
Mr. President, as far as
job, and I can tell you. And somebody said, how are we going to get the nuclear dust? We're going to get it by going in with Iran, with lots of excavators, because the B-2s, remember when fake news CNN said, well, maybe obliteration is too strong a word. Obliteration. That's so deep. We need the biggest excavators you can imagine, but we're going to go in together with Iran. We're going to get it, and we're going to take it back home to the USA. And somebody said, how are we going to get...
Take it back home. Do you think that means anything newsworthy? I think words matter. I think there's something to that. So keep your eyes peeled if that plays out that way. Eric Daughtry, Virginia voters storming the polls to vote on Democrat congressional gerrymandering map. Take a look.
Of 11 districts, map would likely mean Democrats would control 10 of 11 districts in Virginia. We at Fox spoke with voters across the Commonwealth, and they tell us they are split over this decision to redraw.
I think it's extremely disgusting. Spenberger's campaigned as a moderate. She's
anything but.
ruling as a extreme left wing.
We vote yes so we can keep the balance of power because of what Texas is doing. They're redistricting so they can have more pro-Trump seats.
Oh, stop it.
I don't necessarily want an anti-Trump seat, but I want someone who's going to...
Oh, stop it. Almost every single Democrat state has been gerrymandered into oblivion.
balance it out.
It's balanced as it is. You're removing that.
You may not be able to tell from looking at it behind me, but there was a steady
Trying
stream of
to.
people
Okay,
coming in,
trying.
likely before they headed to work this morning. But already, Bill, a lot of people voted early in Virginia. More than 1.3 million ballots cast just before Election Day. Bill.
Yep, a lot of interest in this one. Virginia, of course, a purple state, so it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, all right. You could just clip it there. We don't need that outro. At least 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypassed the U.S. blockade, says Ali Vaiz. Chris Murphy, remember Chris Murphy? The one who's super concerned with Maryland man, human smuggler, Kilmar Abrego Garcia? Chris Murphy thinks it's awesome that at least 26 shadow fleet vessels of Iran bypassed the U.S. blockade. Facing nationwide calls for Chris Murphy to resign after he cheers on Iranian shadow fleet vessels circumventing the American blockade. This comes after he went overseas and trashed America and our president.
Want to bring you greetings as well from a nation that is in crisis. I'm not going to sugarcoat the gravity of what we face right now in the United States. This is the most significant threat to American democracy since the Civil War. Donald Trump.
You're glossing over the coup of 2020 to remove President Trump. You're going to pretend that you're Democrats. Huh. Wow, you're going to pretend that the grand conspiracy of 2016 to spy, tank, destroy, impeach, block, impede upon the Trump administration, and then spent 4 years trying to frame him for an insurrection where he never called for his supporters to arm up and let's go get him. That's what an insurrection is. That's all he had to say. That's all that would have needed to be said. Never happened. 8 years of that bullshit and the past year and a half, 9.5. We're talking basically 10 years at this point. That's the biggest threat to our constitutional republic, Chris Murphy, you sack of shit.
Most significant threat to American democracy since the Civil War. Donald Trump in our country is trying to end our democracy.
What an asshole.
We are not on the verge of a totalitarian takeover. We are in the middle of it. He is trying.
Oh, we're in the middle of a totalitarian takeover. We watched what you did during COVID. We watched what you did with the fake FISA warrants. We watched what you did to get 2 fake impeachments, Putin puppet, and all of that crap, trying to expose the money laundering and bullshit going on in Ukraine to stop a world war, a potential world war sparking event caused by Victoria Nuland, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Barack Hussein Obama, the Democrats, Valerie Jarrett, Eric Holder, all of you assholes. Oh. You do not need to love Trump to vote against every Democrat everywhere forever.
Trying to seize control of our courts, of our law enforcement.
To seize control of the courts. You have people that make no sense. Because if they made sense, they'd be opposing your Democrat policies. Seize control of the courts. That's what you've done with your deep state Democrat buddies.
Enforcement of our media,
of your media. 98%, 95% of the legacy media has been deep state Democrat since what, the 1940s?
Elections. His goal is oligarchic capture.
Oligarchic capture. Like when you think it's awesome, 26 Iranian shadow fleet vessels bypassed the U.S. blockade. Cool story. So what about the ship that was seized yesterday? Iranian flag cargo ship. What's the update with this? Well, Jesse Waters.
Guided missile destroyer, the USS Bronx, blew a hole in her engine room, stopped her cold. Marines choppered in, rappelled onto the deck, and took her over. The president says we have full custody and are seeing what's on board. It's an Iranian cargo ship called the Tuska, almost 1,000 feet long and weighs as much as an aircraft carrier.
Question in the comments section. What would you guess is on this vehicle? On this vessel. Let me say vessel.
And it's been under U.S. and European sanctions.
It's already been sanctioned. So what are they up to on the ship?
It was up to no good. The Tuska was traveling from China. The Washington Post says it was loaded with dual-use chemicals used to manufacture ballistic missiles. Beijing just got caught doing us dirty, and Trump will make them pay.
Wow. 5,000 containers on board. No wonder they tried to run the blockade. Hey, Braden says, isn't it crazy how this guy completely disappeared from the narrative once it was shown that Tim Walz hired him? Remember this? Yeah, that was right around the same time as Charlie Kirk. I went to a church and they did the whataboutism. Like, well, and you saw political violence in Minnesota and it happens on both sides. I'm like, both sides? I don't think it's ever been proven that this guy's on the MAGA side, on the right side, on the Republican side. He executed the lady that voted for the budget that stopped stealing money for Haitian theft. Melissa Hortman, I believe. Mike Lee has thoughts on what's going on with the Save America Act.
The American people want the Save America Act. The swamp wants FISA 702 reauthorized without any meaningful reforms. The Senate is doing it exactly backwards. We've got to get back on the Save America Act. We've got to get it passed. And if one's going to take precedence over the other, it sure as heck shouldn't be the one that Americans hate and the DC swamp wants. Let's get back to work on the Save America Act. That's what the American people want. The American people want the Save America Act. The swamp wants FISA 702 reauthorized without any meaningful reforms.
See, I thought there were meaningful reforms to FISA. So, anyway, if FISA's still a train wreck, then, let's not do that. Because it was so abused last time. Data Republican says the true reason Pete Hegseth is being targeted is because he's standing between President Trump and a coup. Oh, here's Pete Hegseth.
Trump threatened the international order, Council on Foreign Relations, Washington, D.C., Brookings Institute types. They were never told their wars were stupid or their generals were losers or that NATO didn't step up, that China would unleash a virus. So let's call it the China virus and hold them to account for it. All of those things were a calling out of an international order that was failing and is continuing to fail and now has a great advocate in the regime currently in the White House. And Ukraine, it's basically a fight Donald Trump by fighting Putin through Zelensky war. They finally found a war they just absolutely love. Trump threat.
All right. Pete Hegseth said, CFR Brookings, general class, 37 seconds, video with Liz Wheeler. Within 72 hours of his nomination, a color revolution planning document cited him as an insider threat. They didn't go after him because of drinking. They didn't go after him because of women. They went after him because every color revolution manual ever written says the same thing. You cannot topple a government unless the security forces defect. And a loyal Secretary of Defense is the one person who makes sure they don't. I have the receipts, their own documents, their own training sessions, their own words on camera. As always, patience as I pull together the thread. Dr. Malouf shares this video.
A game changer. We need somebody like Mamdani to be the mayor of New York. And that is a victory for the ummah. I'm jumping the gun here, but this is one of the narrow-mindedness need to break here. And if you don't understand this, then honestly, you need to rethink through your understanding of civilizational strength.
If this quote is accurate, I'm not playing 3 minutes of it, but it's quoted here as saying Mamdani was a victory for the ummah. Okay, we did say that. We didn't succeed in conquering Vienna by the sword for 200 years, and now it's 20% Muslim. We need to enlarge the Muslim population in America, just like we did in Europe. Texas has an Islamic problem. What is the plot line of the blob? The blob is that you feast and consume and grow and grow and grow and grow. Isn't that just like a giant green blob? Festus City Council. Conspiracy Bot shares this. So many people showed up to oppose a $6 billion data center in Missouri, they had to use the bleachers. The whole crowd yells and chants that they don't want the data center.
Bill number 4876, ordinance of
The vote is the latest in a series of incidents between city officials and residents who oppose the data. CRG data center arm of area developer Clayco hopes to build a data center on roughly 360 acres north of Highway 7. April 7th. Well, this was 2 weeks ago. Did they get voted out? But they voted to approve the data center anyway, right in their faces. Pamela Hensley says Kamala Harris just said that black women need to be more selfish and start saying, "I'ma get mine." Can you imagine JFK saying, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask when I'ma get mine"? How far has our country fallen? Kevin Sorbo tells us this is insane. A man named Chukwumeka Ahanonu crashes his car. A woman tries to help him. Instead, he Ks her. While being questioned by police, he laughs about it. We simply cannot coexist with these people. Is that shown on this video?
This is the moment a driver
This is from The Sun.
can be seen swerving through traffic and crashing into railings before killing the person who rushed to his aid. After being
Someone rushes to... My God, this is the same story that I did about the firefighter. K'ing the person that's trying to help you. Beware. I guess that's a TNAM preparedness. Anytime you try to help somebody... We told you on TNAM preparedness with that lady at the liquor store. What was that? The gas station or the convenience store? The guy with the Somali illegal alien with the hammer bashing up her car. And she comes out like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm smashing things and now I killed you." We warn you to not do that. Do not put yourself into a position unarmed where you could be attacked by somebody that is clearly attacking things right in front. You don't do that. On today's show, we showed you the firefighter. I didn't play it because I've played it before. But the guy's dying of, he's overdosing or poisoned with fentanyl. He's brought back, and as they're going over, he goes, "All right, I got to check you down." He's like, "No, man, I'm good." He's like, "No, I got to make sure you don't have a weapon." And he's like, Then he pulled out, and he offs the firefighter that just saved his life. Is that what happens in this case too? In which case, even the Good Samaritan, nay, especially the Good Samaritan, might need to think twice before trying to help save somebody's life.
being arrested, 24-year-old Chukwumeka Ahanonu lasted 24-year-old Chukwumeka Carlson, who rushed to his aid. After being arrested, 24-year-old Chukwumeka Ahanonu laughed about the incident during his police interview.
There and you run.
Oh, if I don't laugh, I cry.
Laughing about it? That's him laughing?
Why are you laughing?
If I don't laugh, I cry. If I don't laugh, I cry.
Ahanonu unleashed an unprovoked attack on Neela Patel, who had stepped off a bus to rush to the scene to help the driver after the crash in Leicester. Police say once the driver had freed himself, he launched an attack on Patel.
What did he do to her?
With the mother dying 2 days later.
What does that mean,
in hospital? A jury found Ahanonu, who had been driving whilst under the influence of cannabis, guilty of Patel's murder. This is the...
Okay, but how did he... I don't understand the attack. approached moments after fleeing the crashed car. This guy approaches Patel from behind, pulled her, punched her in the face with enough force to knock her to the pavement. While she was on the ground, he continued the attack by kicking and stamping repeatedly on her head. Witnesses, some from the hospital, saw the assault. Security staff from the hospital intervened and restrained him until police arrived. Patel suffered catastrophic injuries, fractured skull, severe brain trauma, rushed to the hospital, died 2 days later. Horrific, violent, and random on an innocent woman who did nothing to provoke it. Irina Zarutska. She was simply walking by. It was unprovoked. Saying here that she wasn't trying to help. Been smoking cannabis and had dealer bags of the drug in the car. He made significant money selling drugs, $10,000 a month, while on benefits. Reportedly laughed or showed a casual, detached demeanor while being questioned about the Kang. Month-long trial. Life imprisonment, minimum of 21 years, 6 months. No, just make it lifelong. All right. I'm sorry for that shit story. Here's another one. Islamic regime allegedly, according to Sean Fucht, planning to hang 8 women. Where's the media? Where's the outrage? Catholics for Catholics. In a statement signed by Cardinal Pizbala, the Assembly of Catholic Ordinaries of the Holy Land confirms attacks by the IDF on Christians are not isolated incidents, but many, expressing profound indignation and unreserved condemnation of the desecration of a representation. Oh, good grief, this is terribly written. Desecration of a representation of Jesus crucified by an Israeli soldier in a Lebanese village, constituting a grave affront to the Christian faith, adding to another reported incident of desecration of Christian symbols by IDF soldiers in southern Lebanon. So to all you Christians out there that are, Israel's our favorite friend, they're our biggest ally, doggone it, they're just like us. We share the same exact values. You know, they're Judeo-Christian. They're Judeo-Christian. They're Judeo-Christian. How about just call it Christian? How about just call that Judeo? Maybe that's the line. Maybe you call it what it is. Smashing Jesus in the face with an axe. This is a reenactment of how the Romans and Jews killed Christ. How does that make you feel? Damn, if that's a perfectly infuriating image, is it not? An Israeli smashing Christ in the head. This is what it looked like. South Lebanon. And that's what it looks like once an IDF soldier shows up. It's it doesn't sit right with me. In fact, it was only a few weeks ago that the Latin Patriarch Cardinal Pizzabella was refused entrance into the Holy Sepulchre on Palm Sunday of all days by the Israeli defense, I think by the IDF, right? Make no mistake, to be our greatest ally, you cannot be an enemy of America's greatest friend. As a Christian country, that greatest friend of America is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. This goes for the 1948 state of Israel just as much as it does for Muslim countries who slaughter Christians in the thousands. So when you're out here telling me, oh, are you for Hamas or are you for IDF? Are you for Islam or are you for Judaism? It's like, hold on, tell me where I need to root for the Yankees or the Red Sox. I am competing for the same championship those two teams are. I'm not interested in being buddy-buddy with those teams. You can be professional. You can be cordial. If you're trying to take my best players, you're trying to burn my team down. It does look fake or staged, does it not? It certainly does. Let's ask Grok. Is this photo staged? I mean, it's like the perfect swing at the perfect location. It's hard to get that shot. Oh, from a Palestinian journalist's post. Yeah, you mean propagandist's post. But the IDF itself confirmed its authenticity in an official statement, Grok claims. So, IDF described the incident as a real event involving one of their soldiers during operations against Hezbollah infrastructure. They called the soldiers' actions inconsistent with their values, said it was under investigation by Northern Command, and noted they were assisting in restoring the statue. Yeah, it looks dramatic, went viral. Wartime propaganda from all sides, fakes and misleading images are common. Some users in replies questioned it initially or tried to downplay it. However, the IDF's own admission removes reasonable doubt as to whether the photo depicts a real occurrence. They wouldn't confirm and condemn something fabricated against their forces. C for Catholics waited for that confirmation before sharing this widely, fitting a pattern of reported incidents involving damage to Christian sites and symbols in conflict zones like Lebanon, Gaza, etc. Through context like possible Hezbollah use of civilian religious sites is often, I mean, that's kind of clever. Hezbollah to go into a Christian church. All right, blow it up. Ha ha ha. You blew up your own church. We're in a synagogue. Blow it up. Ha ha ha. Unfortunately, Hezbollah does that everywhere at schools, hospitals, and all the places that the other side, who hates the Jews and hates America, they will say, none of that ever happened. Nope. No, Hamas has never bombed a school. Nope. Hamas has never bombed a hospital. Nope. There were no terror tunnels connecting anything. Nope. They've never launched their attacks from holy sites or safe zones that they know you can't fire back on. Ha ha. I'm touching home base. You can't get me. Nah, 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 nah. Okay. The other side says that's never happened a single time. Cool story, bro. Of course they do that. Possible Hezbollah use of civilian religious sites often raised by Israel defenders. Bottom line, it's a genuine photo of a real event, not a setup or AI fake. The outrage and calls for reparation in the thread are responding to something that did actually happen, allegedly. All right. Nick Frieda says, today we see if Fairfax County gets to control 5 of the 11 congressional seats in Virginia. By the way, that's the same county that keeps releasing illegal alien invaders with multiple violent felony charges back onto the streets to murder Virginians. Just want to say that 500 hospices have been shut down. Here, let me read this report directly.
We've already shut down 500 hospices in Los Angeles, and incidentally, we haven't
had one call from Congress or anybody else about complaining about it, because clearly these fraudulent, a lot of these places, you'd say they'd have they just invented addresses, they'd obtain patient identification, or they would pay people. They were going and giving people in poor neighborhoods flat screen televisions or $600, and then they would enlist them and enroll them in the hospice, and we were paying them $6,000. Not a single California Democrat has ever been held accountable, says Wall Street Apes. Justice Kennedy talking about how to restore confidence in our elections.
If you want to restore people's confidence in elections, you do 2 things. We need to go back to an election day, not an election month. And we ought to require people to prove who they say they are in order to vote. Now, the SAVE Act does that in part. I will support tying the SAVE Act to the extension of FISA. I have said for 6 weeks.
Do not connect those two, you dopes.
We should attempt the SAVE Act through the reconciliation bill. Some of my colleagues think if we talk about the SAVE Act long enough, Democrats will give in. If you believe that, you're proof that human evolution is a slow process. Your Cocker Spaniel knows better. The Democrats are not going to vote for the SAVE Act. We're going to have to do it with Republican votes. The FISA bill is one option, but we also ought to attempt to do it through reconciliation, which we're in the middle of right now.
All eyes on SAVE Act. Go back to election day, not election month. Require people to prove who they are. That they are who they say they are when they vote. Tommy Robinson says this is Ostend Beach in Belgium, a literal visual representation of how importing the third world creates the third world. The same across Western Europe. Importing people with no respect or decency will treat everything you hold dear as nothing. They've got clean up your water. Arthur McWater says, imagine thinking billionaires are the reason that you can't afford gas. Gas is $4.03 a gallon in Arizona, $7.20 a gallon, close to double in California. Just that far away. Not that far away. C3 says, once you realize that the Democrat Party is made up of Antifa as the military wing, the judiciary is the lawfare wing, media is the propaganda wing, Act Blue, the money laundering wing, SPLC-ADL, the targeting wing, education in Hollywood, the indoctrination wing, Soros NGO network, the financial wing. It's simple. I agree. It's laid out perfectly right there. Wall Street Mav says our government national debt compared to the size of the U.S. economy is racing into insane territory. Doge was the last chance to change the trajectory. Debt to GDP ratio. Yeah, we sort of missed our off-ramp now. 2015, 103% debt to GDP. 2020, it was 132%. Came down a little bit to 126%. 23% in 2026, but then 150% by 2035. Mike Lee says the national debt has grown faster than the U.S. economy for decades. We need Doge 2.0. And we need Congress to stop spending nearly $2 trillion a year more than it brings in. I agree. Myrna here says Senator John Fetterman revealed he directly told former President Barack Obama he does not work for him. It's a viral but unverified claim. So we'll just pause that as fan fiction for now. SCOTUS Wire says Supreme Court in a summary reversal held that police had reasonable suspicion to stop a driver after passengers fled and he began backing away, faulting the lower court for a divide and conquer analysis of the facts. Oh, shocking. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was the sole dissenter. Again, because she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about, completely unqualified, an absolute political activist. You want to know the trajectory of what the Democrats want to do? They want 13 Ketanji Brown Jacksons. The dumbest, incapable Supreme Court justice in history. Consistently the sole dissenter on obvious cases. She strikes again. Election Wizard says the RNC and DNC have totals of cash on hand per the FEC. Republicans have 116 million cash on hand. Democrats have 13. That's roughly 10 times more. Oh, also the Democrats have 18 million in debt. See, the way they run their party is the way they run their country. Only 13, which is 1/10 of what the Republicans have. And they got double that, more than double that, 2.5 times that in debt. Don't vote Democrat. Virginia, vote no. Vote against Democrats everywhere. Shukri Hamk says the most heinous crime of the 21st century was 11 years ago, where the Islamic State burned 19 Yazidi girls to D in Iraq for refusing to convert and resisting being slaves. The girls were burned to D in iron cages while hundreds of people were cheering and applauding the Kayers. Like Leon, yeah, DEI SCOTUS, where have we gone? And in response, this New account says, hell is created for a reason. These jihadi monsters that butchered these 19 Yazidi girls will burn in hell with an unquenchable fire, a million times more powerful than earthly fire. And pointing out that all too often in Islam, there's beheadings and paganism and burning people alive and female genital mutilation and violence towards dogs and hostage taking and slavery and honor killings and oppression of women and jihad and pedophilia and polygamy. Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Other than the ending, how'd you like the play? Pope Leo says we should perhaps be a little less fearful of Islam. And then it says, but 93% of the Christians murdered for their faith last year were murdered by Islamic extremists, Muslim extremists. Don't know if that's a verified stat. I guess this is probably something you could say, well, we have incomplete data. We don't really know how to quantify. It did not give me an answer. It's talking about crime rate from 1960, and that's not what I'm talking about. So I'll move on. Health Ranger tells us we are not awaiting a collapse. We are in its early stages. Stage 1 is the visual sabotage we see today, where most of the public remains oblivious or dismissive, blaming geopolitical conflict or market forces. The mainstream media obediently provides this cover story. Stage 2, widespread mainstream concern over acute shortages, hyperinflation, and the realization that the system is broken is imminent. Based on the trajectory of fuel and food prices. This stage is likely only weeks away for North America. Stage 3 is the mass panic and acceptance of a new permanent reality, when people realize the abundance of the 20th century is gone, replaced by a managed decline in living standards, mobility, and personal freedom. As detailed in The Coming Storm, America's descent into chaos, the fragile systems underpinning our civilization are failing in a coordinated manner. The engineered energy scarcity is the trigger for its final descent. Talked with Health Ranger before, with John B. Wells at a JFK assassination remembrance event, I believe. Rasmussen says, welcome all election deniers. Secret memo dated January 15 of 2020, declassified March 26, public release yesterday. Everything you've been told was impossible is possible, and someone needs to be S for this. And by S, it's capital punishment. Treason. Vulnerabilities in the U.S. 2020 election infrastructure. From the National Intelligence Council memorandum. Take a look. It's on Just the News. About 54% of U.S. adults, roughly 130 million people between 16 and 74, read below a 6th grade level. Why does nobody talk about this? Joseph Sobrin says, in 100 years, we've gone from teaching Latin and Greek in high school to teaching remedial English in college. Trump's nephew says Paul Ryan, who proposed raising the retirement age to 70, retired at 48 with a full government pension. Liz Churchill says, shocking, British cops are finally ripping the masks off the Antifa terrorists. These are the George Soros tough revolutionaries. These are your children's teachers and NHS staff hiding their dirty secret lives. Yeah, take their masks off. How bold are you going to be when you're not hiding behind a Halloween costume? Not so easy to commit crimes then, is it? Actually, I have no idea what the context is at this moment. C3 says, who is it this time? Sheldon Snook was likely the Dobbs leaker. Husband of Mary McCord, who's the center of every Trump operation. Snook was on Justice Roberts' staff. Roberts protected Snook because he wanted to damage Trump, just like Roberts protected Ukraine impeachment whistleblower. Interesting. Anna Paulina Luna says, hey, no voter ID, no FISA. Well, how about no voter ID? How about yes to voter ID and no to FISA? Thune is reportedly moving against pushing the Save America Act after the 2-week recess. Anna Paulina Luna again saying, force Save America onto FISA. No voter ID, no FISA. Play hardball, GOP. Now's the time to act, says Eric Daughtry. If the Save America Act keeps getting delayed, it likely won't even be in effect for the midterms at all. We can't keep waiting. Force it to the floor, nuke the filibuster, attach it to FISA, whatever it takes. NFL spokesman stated the NFL would not discipline Mike Vrabel. Okay. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy says 53% of commercial driver's licenses issued to foreigners in New York City were issued illegally. We gave them 4 months to comply with the law. They refused, so we had no choice but to pull funding. And if they still refuse, we can pull their ability to issue CDLs. Elon says a majority of CDLs were issued illegally in New York. And Virginians, the polls are open till 7 p.m. Democrats want to rig the congressional maps mid-decade for a massive power grab. Vote no on the redistricting amendment. Protect fair maps and stop the gerrymander. Let's get some shares on this post from the New American Media. And of course, check out yesterday's show about the CIA 2020 coup being exposed. So the Supreme Court's refunding tariff money back to corporations. That's the same corporations that didn't pay a single cent of those tariffs to begin with. They passed every dollar directly to you through higher prices on everything that you buy. You went to the store and paid more for groceries, more for clothes, more for carports, for literally everything. That money came out of your pockets, not theirs. And now the refund goes to them? The corporations who use the tariffs as an excuse to raise prices even higher than the tariff itself and pocket the difference. The American people funded the tariffs. The corporations profited off the tariffs. And because of this court ruling, now the corporations get a refund on money they never spent in the first place. And nobody in Washington thinks the people who actually paid should get the money back. Not a single person has even suggested it. Guess we are never getting our Doge checks either. This country does not work for you. It works for them. It's a joke. And they're not even pretending anymore. That is frustrating. Anna Paulina Luna points out, just so America knows, after 2 weeks in recess, John Thune no longer considering the Save America Act. Got to remove him. Get him out. Get him the hell out. He is deep state. Get loud. Get him out. Thune says we have more pressing stuff. Fuck off. Do it. Knock out the vote and do it now. Vote on it now. You should have voted on it 4 fucking weeks ago. 4 fucking months ago. 250 years ago, it should have been made painfully obvious. You need to be a resident to cast a vote. How in the world did we allow this to get so off the rails? I am done with Thune like I was done with McCarthy. We'll end on Cory Booker. Going a little crazy. Because that's who Cory Booker is. A theater kid, as Scott Adams would call him. Yeah, Thune can't get gone soon enough. Harris got $20 million from ActBlue. Remember, they're like $18 million in debt on top of that, too. All right, we'll end with your moment of Zen. Cory Booker. A lot of people talking about Cory Booker. Oh, Democrats. By the way, this is at a luncheon. The context matters of where you're watching this from. This dude is bonkers. Always has been.
Yesterday, I think he was out of his mind.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation.
Rah! We're going to Wisconsin and North Carolina and Alaska. Rah!
There is darkness and wind. People are getting
darkness and wind. Look at her scrunched face like, what's this boy yapping about? She's going, what? She's going, what are you yelling about?
Ladies and gentlemen, there is a storm in our nation. There is darkness and wind.
There is darkness and wind.
There is darkness and wind. People are getting hurt. What we need is not from on high.
From on high. They all channel like their inner Southern Baptist preachers.
Need is not from on high. We need foot soldiers of our democracy who in time.
It's a constitutional republic. Rah! Rah!
Times of trial are willing to stand up. Will you stand for our democracy?
Yes, stand. You're so inspiring with your wind and darkness.
Will you stand to get out the vote? Will you stand for our children? Will you stand up for our elders? And will you stand together, unified, strong, be the hope that people need? We are Democrats. It's time for a new deal. It's time to redeem the dream of America.
Yesterday, I think he was.
MAGA, get it together. Keep going. Just remember, you got to vote against Democrats everywhere. And text all your friends. Call your friends in Virginia. Go, hey, you got to get out and vote. You got 2.5 hours left. You got till 7 o'clock. So go out and vote. I believe we're going to do our Strictly Football program tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's the revised plan. Okay? Keep it peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. The revised plan is Strictly Football tomorrow at 3. That could change. That could change. Wind from Eric Swalwell. Exactly. Oh, Eric Swalwell. Adios, pal. You ain't my pal, Palooka. All right. Signing out on behalf of everybody out there in the TNAM universe. Thank you to everybody in chat. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.